members is a recognition of a delegation from the National Assembly of Zambia. Honorable members, I wish to introduce to you a delegation of 10 officers from the National Assembly of Zambia who are seated in the Speaker's Gallery. The delegation led by Mr. Sage Samuika, the acting deputy clerk in charge of administration, is on a visit to the National Assembly to learn best practices and exchange knowledge in the area of strategy, risk management and modernization, procurement, parliamentary broadcasting, research, parliamentary training, human capital and administration, and public and international relations. On my behalf, and on behalf of the Assembly, I welcome them to Parliament and wish them fruitful engagements. Equally honorable members, in the Speaker's Gallery, we have Chebonei Girls High School from Bomet, Central Bomet. And in the Speaker's Gallery, we have, in the Public Gallery, we have Kanjinji Secondary School from Mwea East, Kirinyaga. Arnesenes High School from Ainabukoi, Uasin Gishu, and Anderson High School from Endabes, Trans Nzoia. Again, on my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome all the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to the House of Parliament. I have been requested by Mary Maingi, Honorable Mary Maingi, to welcome Kanjinji Secondary School. But on behalf of the House, you can welcome all the students in the galleries. Mary Maingi, give her the mic. There you are.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to welcome the students of Kajiji Secondary to this honorable House. And I also wish to welcome all the other students and their teachers to this honorable House. I would want to wish the students to work hard, focus on their education, work very hard on their studies, and remain disciplined and remain morally upright to become future leaders. I hope at the end of the day they will learn something from these parliament proceedings and that they will return one day to this House as honorable members of Parliament. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Chepkonga, Ainabkoi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to welcome the students from Anderson's Boys High School. Mr. Speaker, this is one of the biggest and largest boys' secondary school in Ainabkoi constituency, and particularly also in Uasin Gishu. Mr. Speaker, they are here on a learning tour. They want to see what happens in Parliament, and Mr. Speaker, I want to welcome them to learn from here. And this is a clarion call to them to what the late former president of South Africa said. He said that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change your world. They are coming here together with all other students from Jebolet and the rest. I hope whatever they will learn here, it will change their world. I want to thank them for coming, and we wish them the best.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Order member for Trans Nzoia, take your seat. Honorable Mishi, take your seat quickly. Honorable members, I have 2 petitions to present to the House. The first petition is regarding unpaid salary arrears and terminal dues by the former employees of Uchumi Supermarkets PLC. Honorable members, Article 119 of the Constitution accords every person the right to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority. Further, Standing Order 2252B requires the Speaker to report to the House any petition other than those presented by a member. Honorable members, in this regard, I wish to report to the House that my office has received a petition from Philomena Oburenyi and Alois Mukoma, Chairperson and Secretary, respectively, of the former Uchumi Staff Welfare Association, regarding the inordinate delay in the payment and settlement of salary arrears and terminal dues owed to former employees. The petitioners aver that despite numerous engagements with appointed administrators, the courts, and the processes established under the company voluntary arrangement, their claims for unpaid salary arrears, gratuity, and other terminal benefits remain unresolved. The petitioners further state that the commitments made under the company voluntary arrangement to settle staff claims have not been honored despite repeated reminders and demonstrations by former employees. Additionally, the petitioners allege that lease proceeds from tenants occupying the company's premises, including payments reportedly made by China Square, have been diverted to other projects instead of being applied towards the settlement of staff claims. Honorable members, the petitioners also cite a lack of transparency and accountability in decisions affecting staff welfare. They contend that certain directives issued during the last annual general meeting by the CVA monitor have not been implemented and that affected employees have not been adequately consulted. The petition further highlights the difficult circumstances faced by many former employees, some of whom are unable to provide for their families, meet medical expenses, or support their children's education. It is also reported that some former staff have passed on before receiving their rightful dues. Honorable members, in light of the foregoing, the petitioners seek the intervention of the National Assembly to ensure transparency in the management of lease proceeds and other company assets and to facilitate the establishment of a clear timeline and mechanism for the resolution of all pending CVA obligations relating to former staff claims. Honorable members, having established that the matters raised in the petition fall within the authority of this House and that they are not pending before any court of law or constitutional body, I hereby commit the petition to the Public Petitions Committee for consideration pursuant to the standing orders. The committee is required to consider the petition and report its findings to the House and the petitioners in accordance with Standing Order 2272. The second petition, honorable members, is regarding strengthening oversight, transparency, and intergenerational equity in public debt governance. Honorable members, Article 119 of the Constitution accords every person the right to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority. Further, Standing Order 2252B requires the Speaker to report to the House any petition other than those presented by a member. In this regard, honorable members, I wish to report to the House that my office has received a petition from Ms. Beatrice Eniwayaki and others representing the Kiambu County Empowerment Network and the Bunge Mashinani Initiative. The petitioners are calling for the enhancement of oversight, transparency, and the integration of intergenerational equity in the governance of public debt. The petitioners contend that the public debt has emerged as a critical governance challenge with profound implications for Kenya's physical sustainability, the delivery of essential services, and the economic prospects of future generations. They express grave concern over the escalating debt burden and the attendant risks to the country's long-term development trajectory. Honorable members, the petitioners underscore the necessity of robust parliamentary scrutiny over the contracting, management, and reporting of public debt. They aver that such oversight is vital to ensure that borrowing remains prudent, transparent, and strictly aligned with the national strategic priorities, thereby safeguarding public resources. The petitioners further observe that the absence of a comprehensive and periodically updated public debt registry impedes effective scrutiny by both the public and relevant parliamentary committees. They argue that a centralized public accessible registry detailing domestic and external debt borrowing terms, creditors, and repayment schedules is indispensable for debt sustainability analysis. Honorable members, the petitioners also highlight a deficiency in structured mechanisms for intergenerational dialogue. They note that discourse on fiscal policy remains largely confined to technical and national forums, effectively excluding local communities and the youth who will bear the long-term cost of today's borrowing from the decision-making process. In light of the following, the petitioners seek the intervention of the National Assembly to 1, strengthen the institutional framework for the oversight of public debt management, 2, enhance transparency through the legislative establishment of a comprehensive and mandatory public debt registry, 3, institutionalize the utilization of independent expert analysis during debt-related deliberations in the House, and 4, promote structured engagement between Parliament, civil society, and the citizenry to ensure intergenerational equity is a primary consideration in public debt policy. Having established, honorable members, that the matter raised in the petition falls squarely within the mandate of this House, and being satisfied that the issues are not sub judice or pending before any other constitutional legal body, I hereby commit this petition to the Public Petitions Committee for consideration and pursuant to the standing orders. This committee is required to consider the petition and report its findings to the House and to the petitioner in accordance with Standing Order 2272. I thank you. Next.
Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 9th June 2026. Number 1, the following draft regulations from the Ministry of Public Service, Human Capital Development and Special Programs. 1, the Gambling Control Licensing Regulations 2026. 2, the Gambling Control Conduct of Gambling Operations Regulations 2026. 3, the Gambling Control Advertising Regulations 2026. 4, the Gambling Control Foreign-Based Operators Regulations 2026. 5, the Gambling Control Gambling Appeals Tribunal Regulations 2026. And 6, the Gambling Control National Lottery Regulations 2026. Number 2, legal notice number 73 of 2026 relating to the Public Finance Management Prisons Enterprise Fund Regulations 2026 and Regulatory Impact Statement RIS Report on Public Participation, Comments and Memorandum on the Public Finance Management Prisons Enterprise Fund Regulations and the Explanatory Memorandum from the National Treasury. 3, reports of the Auditor General and Financial Statement for the years ended 30th June 2021, 30th June 2022, 30th June 2023, 30th June 2024, and 30th June 2025, and the certificates therein in respect of the following schools. Number 1, Arimiet Mixed Secondary School. 2, Chaani Secondary School. 3, Dadachabasa Mixed Day Secondary School. 4, Kijire Girls Secondary School. 5, Karongoi Girls High School. 6, Namuela Secondary School. And 7, Timbila Boys Secondary School. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I lay.
Thank you. Chairperson, Mediation Committee, Honorable Samuel Atandi. Not ready yet. We'll stay that. Chairperson, Committee on Powers and Privileges, Honorable Samuel Chepkonga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 9th June 2026. Report of the Committee of Powers and Privileges on the inquiry into allegations against the member for Pumula and chairperson of the Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education, the Honorable Jack Wanambi Wamboka, CPS MP. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Chairperson, Mediation Committee, Samuel Atandi, CBS MP. Not ready. I think this, anytime it comes in, we'll accommodate him to lay the document on the table and to give notice. Chairperson, Committee on Powers and Privileges, Samuel Chepkonga, CBS MP.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion: that this House adopts the report of the Committee of Powers and Privileges on the inquiry into allegations against the member for Bumula and the chairperson of Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education, the Honorable Jack Wanami Wamboka, CPS MP, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 9th June 2026. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Umulher Harun, nominated member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding insecurity incidences in Kambisamaki, Lagdera constituency in Garissa. Honorable Speaker, Kambisamaki town has, over the past few years, experienced recurrent boundary disputes among communities within Garissa and Isiolo counties. These disputes have often escalated into violent confrontations, resulting in loss of lives, theft of livestock, and destruction of property. The insecurity has also adversely affected the education sector, as non-local teachers who form a significant portion of the teaching workforce face threats to their safety, leading to frequent evacuation. This has resulted in acute teacher shortages, thereby severely disrupting learning and disadvantaging learners in the affected schools in the enjoyment of their right to education. The situation in Kambisamaki calls for urgent intervention to restore security, safeguard lives and property, and ensure a conducive environment of learning. Honorable Speaker, it's against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following: measures taken by the Ministry of Interior and National Administration to urgently enhance security, protect residents, and restore normalcy to school operations in Kambisamaki. Steps being taken to resolve the boundary disputes between Garissa and Isiolo counties, including any interventions made in collaboration with relevant government agencies and the county governments, and the strategies being implemented to ensure that teachers, students, and schools are provided security so as to guarantee a conducive environment for uninterrupted learning. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Harun. Yes, Russell, when can you bring a response to that? Give Honorable Russell the mic.
Mr. Speaker, we'll respond in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's all right. Lillian Sioi, member for Trans Nzoia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to welcome the students from Trans Nzoia, but they have already left. So I don't know if I can just go on with my statement. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I raise to request for a statement regarding the death of Mr. Brian Simiyu in Trans Nzoia County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health regarding the death of Brian Simiyu in Trans Nzoia County. Honorable Speaker, on 17th May 2026, Mr. Brian Simiyu, a resident of Trans Nzoia County, reportedly lost his life following a surgical procedure allegedly conducted at Samor Chemist, situated opposite Dr. Michuki's Plaza building in Trans Nzoia County. It is further alleged that the medical practitioner involved in the incident, one Dr. Alex Baraza, was unfit to practice, with reports indicating that he had been in and out of rehabilitation programs for substance abuse. The procedure is said to have been conducted in an unsafe place and unprofessional environment, with reports alleging that the patient's hands were tied to a window in a manner that violated his dignity. This incident has raised grave concerns regarding... Mr. Speaker, protect me from these guys.
Order, members gravitating around the majority leader, take your seats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This incident has raised grave concerns regarding professional negligence, patient safety, and the continued operation of apparently unlicensed medical facilities. Honorable Speaker, the circumstances surrounding the death of Mr. Simiyu raise serious questions regarding the regulations, inspection and licensing of health facilities, as well as the enforcement of the professional standards among medical practitioners. The incident further points to possible gaps in the monitoring of private chemists and protection of members of the public from unsafe and unlawful medical practices. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health on the following. One, the circumstances that led to the death of Mr. Brian Simiyu following a botched surgery conducted at Samor Chemist in Trans Nzoia County. Two, the registration and professional status of the medical practitioner involved, including whether any complaints, disciplinary proceedings, or concerns had been previously raised against him. Number three, the steps being taken to strengthen inspection, supervision, and enforcement mechanism for private health facilities and chemists. And lastly, measures being taken to ensure that the family of the late Brian Simiyu receives justice and that those found culpable are held accountable. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Nyikal, did you hear what I heard?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the statement requested for is actually of a very serious nature.
Is of grave nature.
Grave nature. One, it was performed in a chemist. Two, by somebody who apparently is known to be mentally unwell. And therefore, I think we'll strive to get as much information as possible, but we'll still try within 2 weeks. But it looks like it may be a much broader...
Bring a preliminary report next week on Thursday.
Thank you.
And Raso, that statement also discloses matters of a criminal nature. You may also get involved and inform the agencies in charge of criminal investigations to take it up. Thank you. Responses to statements. A response to a statement requested by Honorable Member for Bumula. Raso, are you ready?
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the member for Bumula constituency, Honorable Wanami Wamboka, requested to be apprised on the rising insecurity incidences within his constituency. The honorable member particularly sought to be informed the status of investigation into the murder of Mr. Isaac Wanjala, the immediate measures being undertaken to enhance security in Bumula, the long-term strategies being implemented to restore security, strengthen community policing initiative, and enhance collaboration. Honorable Speaker, the status of investigation. On 14th April 2026, at about 0600 hours, Mr. Jared Nyikuli, the director of Dareli Paradise Resort, located within Kabula area, reported at Bumula Police Station, via OB number 07, 14th April 2026, that a robbery with violence incident occurred during the night of 13th, 14th April 2026 at the premises. Police officers responded promptly. Preliminary investigation established that the deceased Isaac Wabwire, aged 38 years, was a security guard and was on duty with his other colleagues. Bernard Waswa Maramba, aged 52 years, who reportedly escaped unhurt during the incident. Subsequently, the post-mortem was conducted on 24 April 2026 on Mr. Isaac Wabwire by the government pathologist, who opined the cause of death to be cardiopulmonary arrest secondary to intracranial hemorrhage resulting to traumatic head injury caused by blunt object. The police revisited the scene to gather further information regarding the robbery with violence incident, where they established that the assailant had gained access into the compound by cutting the perimeter fence behind the lounge area before entering into the bar section. Honorable Speaker, upon questioning, Bernard gave a conflicting statement, prompting the investigators to profile him as a person of interest. He was subsequently arrested and arraigned in court on 15th April 2026 for the offense of failing to prevent a felony contrary to Section 392 of the Penal Code. Honorable Speaker, the immediate measures being undertaken to enhance security in Bumula constituency. The National Police Service remains committed to safeguarding lives and property and maintaining law and order, and has undertaken the following immediate measures to enhance security and public safety in the constituency by doing the following: intensified foot and motorcycle patrols across Kabula Ward and the wider Bumula constituency, deployment of undercover officers alongside intelligence-led policing, including profiling of known offenders, monitoring emerging criminal networks. 3, conduct of targeted security operation to dismantle criminal gangs in identified areas. 4, strengthening of public reporting and community engagement mechanisms through toll-free reporting channel, such as Fichua kwa DCI, number 0800-722-203. 5, enhance collaboration with local leaders, community stakeholders, and the national government administration. Honorable Speaker, the long-term strategies being implemented. 1, owing to the distance to the nearest police station, rising security demands, and limited mobility due to lack of sufficient motor vehicles, the operationalization of Kabula Police Station is being prioritized through deployment of personnel, provision of logistic support, and allocation of essential resources. 2, sensitization of business owners and operators on the installation of closed-circuit television, CCTV, surveillance system within business premises and strategic location. 4, capacity building of investigators through specialized training in forensic investigation, including crime scene management, evidence preservation, forensic photography, fingerprint and trace evidence, among others. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Signed by the Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration. I beg to submit, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Wamboka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Even as we talk about this, the family of the late Wanjala has not received justice because so far as we speak, no culprit has been arrested and they remain being at large. We urge the security agencies to speed up investigations so that at least the family can put closure into this. Honorable Speaker, the insecurity in Bumula and in Bungoma generally continues to escalate, where recently we saw the unfortunate murder of Mr. Pascal Wakafura, and who was a medical person from Bungoma County working for the county, and James Osambo from the Bungoma stage, a young man who was picked from the stage at his place of work, and then he was shot dead a few kilometers from there. So these incidents show that we are still experiencing incidents of insecurity, and we urge the government to move with speed. While there has been some transfer of police officers in Kabula stations and Mianga, and for this, I want to say that at least when I reached out to the Inspector General of Police, Honorable Speaker, action was taken. But there is need to enhance capacity among the officers in these stations and all urban areas in Bungoma County. Honorable Speaker, recently we saw Honorable Murkomen undertake the Jukwaa la Usalama initiatives across the country. We want to urge that they should implement resolutions passed by stakeholders in this, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we had proposed in this House that we want it to be a policy that those officers who are overstayed in one station, Honorable Speaker, should be transferred because they get familiar with the community, and instead of focusing on key areas of insecurity, Honorable Speaker, they just start, they want to chase around residents in Changa and Busa dens, something which, Honorable Speaker, the government must ensure that, they see to it that is done. As we use NGCDF funds to put our police stations, we urge the ministry to ensure security officers are dispatched not only to harass our people, especially these political sessions that is coming in, Honorable Speaker, but to provide security and the provision of security, Honorable Speaker. They must be non-committal, non-partisan to any part of the political divide, so that at the end of the day, Honorable Speaker, we have security across Bumula and across our constituencies. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, Russell, those are just positive comments. If you can take that into account, it will help the situation. Eric Wamumbi. Yes, Russell, are you ready to respond to Wamumbi's request?
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Member of Parliament for Madira constituency, Honorable Wamumbi, requested to be apprised of the alleged circulation of harmful, adulterated alcoholic drinks in the country. He stated that there is a growing concern that some alcoholic brands by Patiala Distillers Limited, Blue Ice Vodka, Blue Ice Coconut, Best Classic Gin, Best Gold Classic Brandy, Best Gold Liquor, Diamond Ice Liquor, Dark Strong Beer, and Strong Ale Beer may be adulterated. The Honorable Member particularly sought a report on the licensing status of the aforementioned alcoholic brands. 2, a report on investigation, even by the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, KEPS and other relevant agencies. 3, enforcement, surveillance, and consumer protection measures. Honorable Speaker, a report on the licensing status of the aforementioned alcoholic brands and details of any tests conducted by the government chemist. Honorable Speaker, via Gazette Notice number 9775 of 3rd November 2020, the government placed the role of licensing of manufacturers of alcoholic drinks in the hands of National Alcoholic Control Committee. This is a multi-agency committee chaired by the PS in Internal Security and membership cuts across government agencies, among them Kenya Bureau of Standards, KRA, Ministry of Trade, Weight, particularly in the area of weights and measures, and the Ministry of Health. Key among them is that the product must meet safety and human consumption status before being certified by KEPS. The test undertaken assesses various parameters, including methanol content, ethanol concentration, presence of contaminants, toxic substances, and other harmful impurities in accordance with the established quality standards. Honorable Speaker, Patiala Distillers Kenya Limited requested for licensing in April 2022, having relocated their plant to Mlolongo. Several compliance checks were carried out, and the facility, having met all the requirements, was initially issued with a clearance letter to produce the aforementioned brands in April 2023. Following suspension of all alcohol manufacturing license issued in March 2024, the facility closed down, but upon inspection, it met the necessary requirement and was given clearance on 3rd June 2025. A report on investigation, if any, by the Anti-Counterfeit Authority. Honorable Speaker, the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, and other relevant enforcement and regulatory agencies have undertaken investigation and market surveillance operation to establish the authenticity, validity, and compliance status of the said alcoholic drinks. Further, the agencies have continued to conduct inspections, product sampling, verification of standardization marks, and nationwide audit of alcoholic beverages available in the market. Honorable Speaker, the enforcement, surveillance, and consumer protection measures that have been undertaken. Honorable Speaker, the government has enhanced enforcement, surveillance, and consumer protection measures against manufacturers, distributors, and retailers found dealing in adulterated, counterfeit, or substandard alcoholic drinks. 1, rigorous multi-agency inspection for clearance of alcoholic manufacturers, multi-agency intelligence raid operation, seizure and destruction of non-compliant products, closure of illegal manufacturing and distribution premises. 4, prosecution of offenders and product recalls where necessary. And 5, continuous market surveillance and public sensitization. The measures taken by the manufacturer to protect their products. Honorable Speaker, the manufacturers have put in place various measures aimed at protecting their products from counterfeiting and enhancing consumer confidence. These measures include the use of tamper-proof seals, enhanced packaging security features, product traceability system, authentication and verification mechanisms, and consumer awareness campaign on identification of genuine products. Honorable Speaker, manufacturers have also continued to collaborate with regulatory and enforcement agencies in reporting suspected counterfeit activities and sensitizing consumers on the dangers associated with counterfeit and substandard alcoholic beverages. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Signed by Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration. Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Mheshimiwa Wamumbi, you satisfied with that?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I am contented with the response. I would only like to request the Minister to share this response with the GAO officers starting with the regional commissioners, to make sure that manufacturers who are manufacturing products that are safe for human consumption are protected, and to heavily deal with the counterfeiters, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Westlands, Tim Wanyonyi. You've given him the mic behind him. Give him the correct mic.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 43, I rise to make a general statement regarding the advancement of disability inclusion, accessibility, and promotion of the rights of and representation of persons with disabilities in our parliamentary institutions and governance systems. Honorable Speaker, I recently participated in the Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disabilities CBWD Forum in Cape Town, South Africa, from 26 to 28 May 2026. The forum, which was convened under the theme Legislating for the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, brought together parliamentarians with disabilities from across the Commonwealth to exchange experiences, share best practices, and explore practices, approaches, and strengthening accessibility and representation and inclusion with parliamentary systems. The forum decried the low representation of persons with disabilities in elective and appointive positions and underscored the importance of disability inclusion in all spheres of development. It also noted that despite progress achieved in many jurisdictions, significant barriers still limit the participation of persons with disabilities in legislative and decision-making processes. The hindrances include inaccessible infrastructure, inadequate support systems, negative societal attitudes, and limited opportunities for political engagement. Honorable Speaker, to accelerate accessibility inclusion, the forum called on Commonwealth parliaments to deliberately ensure full and effective participation of persons with disabilities in political and public life. It further emphasized the need for political parties and other stakeholders to create pathways that encourage and support persons with disabilities to seek public office, while safeguarding and expanding gains made in representation. Additionally, the forums underscored the need for regular access audits of parliamentary institutions and the collection of reliable data to inform policy interventions and aimed at enhancing inclusion. The forum also stated the importance of strong partnerships between parliaments, organizations of persons with disabilities, civil society, and development partners so as to ensure that policies and legislation affecting persons with disabilities are informed by lived experiences and the government commitments on disability inclusion translate into meaningful action and measurable outcomes. Honorable Speaker, the representative nature of Parliament uniquely places on us a responsibility to ensure that our legislative policy and institutional frameworks upon the rights, dignity, and full participation of persons with disabilities in governance and public affairs. I therefore urge that we continue strengthening inclusive practices and promoting equal opportunities for all citizens to contribute to national development regardless of disability status. Finally, as the chairperson of Kenya Disability Parliamentary Association and the CBWD Africa Region Champion, I urge Parliament and all relevant stakeholders to continue championing disability-inclusive policies and legislation. Together, we can build institutions that are fully accessible, representative, and responsive to the needs and aspirations of persons with disabilities. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Westlands. Honorable members in the Speaker's Gallery, allow me to acknowledge Starehe Primary School from Laikipia West, Laikipia. In the public gallery, we have Nyabondo Boys Boarding Comprehensive School from Nyakach, Kisumu, and Ayebo Boys High School from Baringo North, Baringo. Honorable members, on my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to Parliament. Maklap.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to join you, Mr. Speaker, to congratulate all the students from all parts of Kenya that have visited us today in this National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, and more particularly to Ayebo Boys High School from Baringo North, popularly known as at home Bongo Boys. Mr. Speaker, Bongo Boys did very well in the last year's examination, where they had 71 out of 84 students directly join the university. I want to encourage all the students that this is the House of Parliament, this is where laws are made, policies are done, and Mr. Speaker, the sky is the limit. Maintain discipline throughout their studies. Ensure that they work hard in school so that one day they will find themselves here. It is hard work and discipline that will bring them here and other places all over the world. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next, order.
Order number 8.
Hold on. Sioi, what is it? Lillian Sioi, give her the mic. You are very far away from where Lillian Sioi is. You don't know Lillian Sioi? There you are, there. Next.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last time, before we went for recess, I raised a question on shortage of fertilizer in Trans Nzoia. But so far, I haven't received any response. They were to do it the first week after recess, but I haven't received any communication. Mr. Speaker, the President subsidized the prices of fertilizer with reasons for the Kenyans to benefit, for Kenyans to produce enough food, and for Kenyans to get food at a cheaper price. But to our surprise, our fertilizer is being sold in Uganda, in our neighboring country, of which now it's like we subsidize the prices for them and not us. So I raised to still request for that response so that I can be able to know what happened.
Thank you, Mutunga. This was to you.
Yes, Honourable Speaker, thank you very much.
Where is the response?
Honourable Speaker, we discussed this issue at the meeting with the ministry, and they were to give us a written report on the same when they brought their submissions for the budget. We have not received that as yet.
The planting
I've spoken to
season
the
is
PS, and he has
rapidly-
promised that he's going to be there tomorrow.
The planting season is rapidly slipping away. You say tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yes.
Yes, tomorrow afternoon we'll allow you to do so. Next order.
Order number 8, the Kenya Judiciary Academy Bill, National Assembly Bill number 42 of 2025, second reading, resumption of debate.
Who was on the floor? Honorable Stephen Mogaka is not in the house. Ndindi Nyoro, are you queuing for this? Wilberforce Oundo, are you queuing for this? Gideon Gitonga Murugara, you are queuing for this. Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
I thought you are the one who moved the bill.
And unfortunately, I was out of the country.
Oh, okay.
It was moved by leader and seconded by another member of JLAC. It's good I speak in support of the bill.
Go ahead.
Because, Honorable Speaker, the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs sat and looked at this bill just before debate and tabled a detailed report on why the bill should be supported, again proposing a raft of amendments to try and ensure that it is in compliance with the Constitution, because some members felt that this bill, in some respect, may actually be offending Article 172(1)(d) of the Constitution. This is purely because the mandate to manage functions and powers of the judiciary are vested in the JSC, and therefore this academy may be actually getting powers which it should not be having. The correct position is that we are now establishing the Kenya Judiciary Academy that is going to be in charge of training, management, and other functions relating to judicial staff and judicial members. Concern is raised on clause 4, whereby it establishes the academy as a body corporate, and the argument here is that as a body corporate, it may be separate and distinct from the judiciary, and therefore it may be having powers which are not constitutionally conferred. The correct position is that we are establishing an agency of the Judicial Service Commission, so that some of the functions which are performed by the Judicial Service Commission can be delegated to this entity, and therefore this entity is going to be an agent of JSC. If it is an agent, then its powers are within the mandate of the delegation. It cannot perform any other functions apart from those that are conferred by this statute, and those functions must be under Article 172(1) of the Constitution. Therefore, we will be making or proposing an amendment so that everything that this academy does is in line with the Constitution, the functions of the JSC, and any other mandate this House, within the powers granted to it by the Constitution, can give to the academy. The academy is similar to institutions, including our Center for Parliamentary Studies, including the government school, which is under PSC, and especially the School of Government is also a body corporate, and it's able to discharge the statutory mandate given to it under the constitutional provisions. If there are any other areas that we need to look at, we have our report, and every member is requested to study the same, so that we do not argue that we are forming a body that may be ultra vires the Constitution, while in essence we have actually proposed to align this body, a corporate body, with the functions of the JSC and also with what the Constitution provides. With those remarks, I urge the House to pass this bill and also deal with the amendments when they come to the House during the third reading of the bill. Honorable Speaker, I beg to support.
Yes, those who are interested in debating this, please press the intervention button. Okay, Honorable Beatrice Elachi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support, but to put in a few of the queries, because when you read the bill, while I appreciate, Madam Speaker, that the bill indeed is to improve and strengthen the independence of the judiciary, but at the same time, Madam Speaker, we need to be very careful so that we don't risk into getting into bureaucracy. and especially when you have a board, Madam Speaker. A board that definitely will work, will have an operational cost, if not managed efficiently, Madam Speaker. And also, we should be very careful. I know the chair has told us there's no duplication of functions. The biggest challenge we always face, Madam Speaker, is when Kenyans are given a job, they forget that, and when they get into office and now take power, they definitely will just go beyond the lines that they've been given. And so it is something that when we are saying it's under the Judicial Service Commission, and therefore we need to ask ourselves whether the Judicial Service Commission, the same way we have Parliamentary Service Commission, Madam Speaker, and we have our CPST. I think that is the best way this academy should be run, so that it is completely under the Judicial Service Commission. And so the issues of governance will still arise, Madam Speaker, if we are not careful in, and I'm hoping when we look at the amendments, we shall see how the amendments now will realign the bill under the Judicial Service Commission. And so that also we don't create another entity that now comes in and then you'll find yourself looking for resources to manage it, and yet we are using the same public resources. Madam Speaker, it's a good idea, because at the same time, I'm hoping it will take care of, while you look at the academics and all that, and the capacity building of the judges, I think the most important thing is how do you ensure also that most of the challenges we face in court is when you find a judge who will find himself not really understanding policy that we use. Sometimes when we do our public policies within our quotas of work, especially as politicians, you find that sometimes not because the judge will want, but because he will not understand why the current affairs in X constituency is like this, and why this is a matter that is of public interest. I think that will now help us so that we don't go back in the challenges we always face of public interest vis-a-vis the law and how you balance that. So, Madam Speaker, in this, when you look at 9, they tell you that there will be a chairperson and members of the board shall be paid such allowances as may be determined by the commission in consultation with the salaries. See, the moment you go to that, then now you have moved out of what we are saying, run the institution the way we run CPST. We have our members coming from Parliament, they go to CPST, we have our professor there, but he's under CPST, and they sit in the Parliamentary Service Commission. And so I am hoping some of those who sit on the Judicial Service Commission will be able to sit in this committee, so that you don't do a lot of duplication, and that in the same time, they are able to manage and to ensure that within the regulations that have been passed, it will work. You have a Director General who will be responsible of the strategic direction and leadership of the academy. Then you have the Director General who may perform such other duties as may be assigned by the board. So the moment you have that, it means you have 2 separate boards, Madam Speaker. And I can tell you there will be conflict between the Judicial Service Commission and this board if we did not realign it properly. And then lastly, when you look at the financial provisions, which is in part 3, that the funds of the academy shall comprise of monies allocated to the Judicial Service Commission for purposes of the academy and approved by the National Assembly. And this is where I was saying, Madam Speaker, if you are not careful, now you have to ensure the Judicial Service Commission runs the judiciary, but this one becomes a semi-autonomy where again we are allocating resources for them. And so those are some of the things we need to look at, even as we agree with the bill, Madam Speaker. So with those few remarks, I beg your support, but I'm hoping we shall have very serious amendments in realigning so that this academy is specifically just run by the Judicial Service Commission. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also join my colleagues in supporting this important bill, Honorable Speaker. And just as we have School of Government, we have Parliamentary Training Institution, I think it's important that we also have the Judicial Service Academy. I see a number of benefits from this academy, Honorable Speaker, despite what my colleagues are saying in terms of areas where we could improve. But among the benefits I'd like to realize, Honorable Speaker, the first one is coming up with a training curriculum which is standardized, so that most of the judicial officers are taken through a common training, which will ensure that then quality, in terms of quality, it is improved, Honorable Speaker. The other important bit, Honorable Speaker, is that through this academy, we could have tailor-made college training opportunities which are really localized and which are applicable to our environment, so that at the end of the day, Honorable Speaker, we don't have to keep on sending our judicial officers out of country to train, Honorable Speaker. When you have a local academy, you can easily train our people locally, so that we only send them out there for very specialized training opportunities, Honorable Speaker, and that will save this country the money we are spending on external travel, Honorable Speaker. At the same time, Honorable Speaker, this could also be an opportunity to generate income for the Judicial Service Commission, Honorable Speaker, because we could make this academy also a regional academy where we have other neighboring countries sending their judicial officers to this country for training. And on that note, Honorable Speaker, just as we are making a lot of money as Parliament from the training, from regional training, this academy could also actually generate their own income, what we call A&A, through training our neighboring countries, and more so the judicial officers, Honorable Speaker. Last but not least, Honorable Speaker, this academy will also create opportunities for employment for our lecturers and people who are in this area, Honorable Speaker, so that we have many more Kenyans joining this academy to train. And these are opportunities which are not very common, Honorable Speaker. And I'm sure most of our lecturers who are out there, who are trained in this area, could easily, Honorable Speaker, then take advantage of those opportunities and make money, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, we have heard what Honorable Irach is saying in terms of the board. I do believe that the board, the composition of the board, Honorable Speaker, will draw from even the Judicial Service Commission. And we might only have very few board members who will be drawing allowances, because the others will be drawing from the main commission, Honorable Speaker. But also, and done, Honorable Speaker, it's also important to have our members also join these boards, so that they also provide strategic thinking and leadership to these boards, Honorable Speaker. So with those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I do support this bill and wish that it will be fast-tracked to make sure that this academy becomes operational. I support, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Seme.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I start by saying I support this bill because I think it is of great importance to our society. Madam Speaker, justice, peace, and harmony is what keeps the human society running. And that's what distinguishes us from animals. And that justice, peace, and harmony is dependent on actually the judicial services, police services, public prosecution, criminal investigation systems. But of all this, Madam Speaker, when all that has been put together, the judges and the judicial officers actually bear the greatest responsibility of that, how that comes out when it is being processed in the system. And the legal professions which they belong, like all other professions, are based on proper, appropriate, and full knowledge of, in this case, the practice of law. And we are aware, Madam Speaker, that both knowledge and practice changes as the society changes. It is therefore important that professionals in this area continue to keep abreast with the changes that occur. And Article 172 1D of our Constitution actually recognizes this and provides for continuous legal education and training of judges and judicial officers. This bill exactly does that. I think that's what this bill is designed for. And it does that by establishing the academy itself. It also provides structures for running that academy. As our members have indicated, there may be instances where certain structures may conflict with the other, but I think that we can look, when we come to the committee of the whole house, we can make amendments so that we remove such contradictions. The bill also provides for the funding of the academy in clause 13. And I note that he provides that funds will be made available through the National Assembly, through the Judicial Fund, through levies and fees. And on levies and fees, Madam Speaker, I will say that the Academy should make maximum effort to actually focus on improving skills and knowledge of the judicial officers and the judges, instead of actually trying to raise funds. This normally becomes a weakness of institutions. When they focus on raising funds, then they start to lose what is their main mandate, which in this case is to maintain the skills and the knowledge of these officers. And therefore, we really, as a parliament, in my view, we should actually strive to keep this institution well funded so that they focus on what they really need to do to sharpen the skills and knowledge of these officers. This bill also in clause 5 provides for continuing research. This is extremely important. In all areas, as the society changes, there is need for research to see what changes are taking place in the society norms, in international relations, and even in technology. You know, technology will be used in provision of legal services in the judicial system, but also technology will be used in crime, in criminology. And quite often, if the officers are not actually abreast with what is happening, then really they will not provide the services that are required. Therefore, in my view, Madam Speaker, I think this is a well-intended bill. In broad terms, it has actually covered all the areas that it needs to cover, and therefore I support this bill. Thank you.
Honorable members, allow me to recognize the following schools: Chebunyo Christian School, Chebalungu Constituency, Bomet County, and Imenti Junior School from Laikipia East Constituency, Laikipia County, who are seated in the public gallery. We also have Kasue Girls Secondary School, Kibwezi East Constituency, Makueni County. Honorable members, I also wish to introduce to you a delegation of 26 officers drawn from the various national and county government institutions who are seated in the Speaker's Gallery. The delegation is undertaking a training on protocol, etiquette, and events management in the legislature at the Center of Parliamentary Studies and Training, CPST. On my own behalf and that of the National Assembly, I welcome you to Parliament and wish them fruitful deliberations. Thank you. Member for Chebalungu, you wanted to welcome the students on our behalf? Give him the mic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity to welcome the students who have come to visit Parliament today. And in particular, Honorable Speaker, allow me to welcome Christian Academy that is in Chepalungu constituency. It is a school in Chepalungu constituency that offers education, Honorable Speaker. And I'm privileged today to stand here in this floor to welcome them so that they can appreciate what we normally come to do. And at least, Honorable Speaker, to encourage them that when they work hard, one day, one time, they will be able to as well be here to represent their people in various capacities. Parliament is not just for members of Parliament, it has other career opportunities. Honorable Speaker, allow me to welcome all those that have come here today so that they can witness how Parliament transacts its business. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Mishi Boko, member for Likoni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also stand to support this bill, the Kenya Judicial Academy Bill 2025. Madam Speaker, this bill tends to operationalize Article 172, 1D of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, as we know, the Judicial Service Commission has a mandate to ensure continuous education and training of the judges, magistrates, and judicial staffs. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as we have seen in the Clause 3, which established the Kenya Judicial Academy as a regional center of excellence in judicial training. Madam Speaker, as we know, our judges, the magistrates, deal with complex issues. They deal with a lot of cases. And most of the cases, they need to get capacity building rather like having continuous education to get more expertise, to get more experiences, and also to learn more on the emerging issues in terms of justice, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you need to understand even right now, we have because of the new technology, we have issues like the digital evidence, we have the issues to do with cyber crime, the issue of artificial intelligence, and most of the time our judges, our magistrates, they only do workshops and seminars, and it is occasional, Madam Speaker. Having this platform, it means it's like they're having a home, or rather their own institution, whereby they can have capacity building and they can have continuous education in terms of their mandate, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when you talk about research and formulating of policies, as members of Parliament, each and every time we keep on formulating some policies, we keep on legislation, some new laws, we do some amendments. So it is also high time that our judges need to get some updates on the new laws which we have legislated, those which we have done some amendment, the policies, the regulation, and so on and so forth, Madam Speaker. So our judges need a platform and our magistrates so that they can be updated on all this legislation, Honorable Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, also, this platform will not only serve for the judiciary only, but it will also serve other legal professions which may be also interested in getting this update in terms of the expertise, in terms of experiences, because you'll get some new reports, some new publication, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, also, this academy will partner with other relevant institutions. Like here in our parliament, we have what we call CPST, Center for Parliamentary Studies and Training. They can partner with them. They can also partner the Kenya School of Government. They can also partner. So it means there'll be cross-border training and there'll be exchange of trainings, program experiences, and so many other issues in terms of academy, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, also I want to say that having this academy, it will also prove that we have the independence of the judiciary, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, by creating a dedicated institution for judicial training and research, it means we are strengthening our institution, we are strengthening the capacity of our judges, of our magistrates, and even the judicial staffs, Honorable Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I just want to say that Although maybe we are saying maybe we might have some challenges because they'll be aboard. But to me, when I just look on this bill, I'm seeing, according to clause 6, it will establish board of directors. And that board of directors, it has some representation from the judiciary, from legal profession, from universities and regulatory institutions. So it means it will be well represented. And having all these actors, I don't think whether we can have any kind of challenges, because it means that we have involved the key stakeholders, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, also clause 13, if I quote 13, 14, and 15, it provides academies funding. And it's funding financial year and annual estimate. This provision means we'll have transparency, accountability, and prudent management of public resources. So it means there'll be proper management of this academy. And I also want to echo the budget committee, because we did allocation to the judiciary, good money to judiciary. And I hope part of that money also can even be channeled to this academy, so that it can strengthen the mandate to ensure that our judges, our magistrates can have continuous education, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to say, if we have a competent, ethical, and continuous trained judiciary, it means Kenyans are going to get justice. It means justice will come according to the time frame which has been talked about, because most of the time we are seeing that some cases, they take long time, and maybe there are some challenges. But if you have such platform, even those kind of challenges, they'll have a forum where they can discuss and get a way forward, so that Kenyans will not keep on crying and complaining that their cases have been there for many, many years without completion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just want to say this is a very good bill, Madam Speaker, because our judges need this induction. We have new judges, some maybe have just joined recently, and they need some induction, they need orientation, and they need professional trainings. So I think this is a good platform, and I urge my colleagues that we need to support this bill, so that our judiciary is going to be very competent, ethical, and we'll have judges and magistrates who are well trained, and they are being refreshed each and every time. They get capacity building. They don't wait for seminars. They don't wait for occasional workshops. They can just do that. Again, we'll have opportunity. The lecturers who are going to be training them, they'll be there. We'll have also opportunity. Other people are going to be employed in that academy. It is also a way of income generating, because we'll not only train just within our country, maybe even across East African community, we'll do that. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to support this bill.
The member for Ariada.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm a member of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and I'm happy to advise members that this bill was spearheaded by a team made up of members of the Judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission, led by the Honorable Supreme Court Judge, Dr. Smokin Wanjala. Madam Speaker, as a committee, we thoroughly examined this bill at various stages, and we robustly debated it no less than 3 times. And I'm happy to tell members that of some of the concerns that I've had some members raise, most of them are already catered for in the proposed amendments that the committee did, and you'll find that in chapter 6 of the report of the committee. Madam Speaker, it is important to understand that this bill reflects a best practice regionally and internationally, where entities such as the Judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission now find it necessary to focus on continuous legal education. Madam Speaker, it is important to understand that as lawyers, we are all trained under the same curriculum. But depending on which branch of law you want to focus on, you therefore must get some additional training. If you are a prosecutor, you will now focus on prosecution. If you are a parliamentary counsel, you focus on parliamentary matters. And therefore, judges and magistrates, no less, must be accorded an opportunity to refocus their training to judicial work. And that is what this bill seeks to do. It does not only seek to focus on judges, it seeks to focus on tribunals. We have no less than 36 tribunals that are now established under various statutes. And every time we appoint a chair or members of a tribunal, they must be trained. This bill allows the judges to focus on the unique election laws, both by statute and by practice. And as you know, Madam Speaker, whenever we come to elections, as we are coming to next year, there will be very many petitions, and the judges must get an opportunity to be refocused on this matter. This bill allows not just judges and magistrates, but all the players in the space of administration of justice to be trained by this academy. And it does not stop there. It also gives an opportunity for regional and international training even of judges. So this bill gives an opportunity to enable us refocus the idea of training in terms of judges and those who support the judiciary in various ways. Madam Speaker, as we were considering this bill, we had submissions from various entities. We had submissions from the Office of the Attorney General, we heard from the Judicial Service Commission, we heard from the Kenya Judges and Magistrate Association, we heard from the Law Society of Kenya, we heard from Treasury, we heard from Legal Advice Center, among others. Of importance, Madam Speaker, is that all those who came before us started by supporting the bill. Whatever observations they made, they said, we support the bill. It is particularly important that any concerns that have been raised around the jurisdiction of the Judicial Service Commission was allayed by the Commission itself. Because the Commission told us that in their view, there is nothing in this bill that would usurp their jurisdiction. There is nothing in this bill that would bring friction between the Commission and the Academy. Madam Speaker, it is important to know that as we consider this, and I think our focus is clause number 4 and number 5, how does creating a body corporate relate to the Judicial Service Commission? Madam Speaker, we carefully navigated this point. And at the end of the day, both the committee and the Judicial Service Commission was satisfied that in the way it is crafted, there would be no usurpation of jurisdiction. The way it's crafted, Madam Speaker, first is clause 5. Everything the Academy does, if you look at chapter 6, it does on behalf of the Judicial Service Commission. To that extent, it is essentially an organ of the Commission, except that given the work of the Commission and the judiciary, they found it necessary to find an organ that focuses just on training and not recruitment of judges, not discipline of judges, not hearing cases, and that's why they came up with this academy as a body corporate. If you look at the clauses, Madam Speaker, you will see that it is so carefully navigated that there's a board. But that board must be chaired by a judge of the Superior Court. And that judge must be already a member of the Judicial Service Commission. That is the second point of nexus. So that the chair of the board is actually only a member of JSC. So the board cannot run rogue. And all the others who are to be appointed to the board, as you will see, there's a role of the Judicial Service Commission. There's a DG, and that DG is also appointed by the Judicial Service Commission. And that DG must also be a judge of the Superior Court. And the same applies to the registrar. So that, Madam Speaker, if you look at clause number 4 and number 5 and the other sections of this bill, you will see that any fears in terms of usurpation of the Commission's role, in terms of friction, is well taken care of. Madam Speaker, it is important to note that there is supposed to be a linkage. This academy is supposed to link with others, and we have done this before. We in Parliament have a Center for Parliamentary Studies, which we are still nurturing. The prosecutions have theirs. The ESCC have theirs. So we are trying to have a linkage that will assist Kenyans in the administration of justice ultimately. Madam Speaker, lastly, on this point, I draw members' attention to clause number 13, and that is the only other point that we have yet again suggested some amendment. Initially, in terms of funding, it was supposed to be funded partly by funds from the Judicial Service Commission, partly from the judiciary, and partly from the Judiciary Fund. The committee has proposed deletion of clause 13B and C so that it leaves it exclusively to funds allocated to the Judicial Service Commission. Part of the entire argument by the judiciary is that it is important to have this as a body corporate, because that way, even in allocating funds, Parliament will have an eye to fund this entity. So far, training has been suffering because all the funds are directed at salaries, at hearing cases, and at such like. So, Madam Speaker, I believe that this bill, once we carry the proposed amendment by the committee, will be a good bill, and this academy will work in the way that is proposed. I so support, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Tindirit.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I arise to support the Judiciary Academy Bill 2025. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the committee led by Sir Murungana, Sir George, for having done a good job, especially on this particular bill, that the bill seeks to establish the Judiciary Academy. The Judiciary Academy, Madam Speaker, is supposed to actually be the institution that is taking continuing education for magistrates, for judges, and for judicial staff. Madam Speaker, as we all know, that education is a lifelong process. And the judges that were in school far much earlier, maybe 20, 30 years ago, will actually need to have refresher courses. Will actually need to go through capacity building. Will also need to go through new courses on how to handle emerging issues. Madam Speaker, as you look at the society today, this bill tries to address a number of issues that are coming up. For example, the issues of the AI. How are we going to legislate and handle cases relating to AI? How are we going to look into issues that are very modern in our society today? Madam Speaker, the establishment of the Judiciary Academy is going to be very important, especially in improving the skills, the abilities, and information of the judicial staff, the judges from the Court of Appeal, the High Court, the Supreme Court, and then the support staff, the researchers, and the staff that are actually the IT staff, and more importantly, even the drafters. Madam Speaker, we need to know that judges actually do a lot of work for this country. And like yesterday, you saw they went through the whole day going through that particular judgment. Even in terms of handling very modern cases, especially on issues that have arisen in our societies. So this school will go a long way to assist them to be up to date on so many matters that are going to have in the society. Part 3 of the bill, especially clauses 13 to 15, provides for the financial provisions, including the sources of funds for the academy. In fact, this is actually going to assist in making sure that the Judiciary Academy is going to be stable financially, it is going to be accountable, and the financial year of the academy is also indicated. It also goes a long way in ensuring that the Judiciary Academy is going to have the annual estimates of the academy, of the year. Part 4 of the bill, or clauses 16 to 18, provides for the general provision, including the common seal of the academy. Madam Speaker, we all know that as an institution, which is actually going to assist in educating or in actually capacity building the judges, the magistrates, and all the staff. It is very important that it has a common seal, which is actually a provision, which is a protection of the members of the board and also the staff of the academy from personal liability and the liability of the academy for damages. So in effect, Madam Speaker, this institution is very important. It is important in the sense that it will actually ensure that the judiciary has a school or an academy the way other institutions of government like the Parliamentary Staff Training College at Karen, which is actually doing good work for these members of parliament and the staff. We also have the staff training for the KRA and all other staffs in this country. And therefore, I arise to support and more importantly, to say this is a good thing for this country and the Judicial Service Commission. I support. Thank you.
The Honorable Didi Nyoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, in a progressive modern economy, there are three tenets that are very important, which acts as a foundation of a thriving modern economy. One is the bureaucracy, which is modern. Number two is the rule of law. And number three is, of course, accountability through democracy. And Honorable Speaker, in our country like Kenya, which we must always do our best as leaders to make it a thriving modern economy. Honorable Speaker, it is very important that we know that the rule of law itself is a very important component when it also actually comes to the growth of an economy. For example, the story of Singapore is told, Honorable Speaker, and many people just think it's about manufacturing and it's about how the industry set up in Singapore. But Honorable Speaker, many times, we don't see that many investors actually preferred to set base in Singapore based on the legal framework they had, Honorable Speaker, which is Commonwealth law, and which Kenya is also domiciled in, Honorable Speaker. Because when investors want to go into a country, one thing that is very critical is whether that economy respects the ownership, Honorable Speaker, of assets. And whatever enforces that in many respects is the judiciary, which acts as the anchor of the rule of law. But Honorable Speaker, even as we talk about judiciary itself, judiciary is by itself a bureaucracy because it is a system of government which has many stratas and that which is a system by itself. And it is important that even as we make our bureaucracy in terms of the executive efficient, through training and also through dissemination of information to make it more efficient, it is also important that we look at the other side and the other levels of government, Honorable Speaker, judiciary being one of them, in terms of making it more efficient, more knowledgeable in all respects. And Honorable Speaker, having an institution that only plays that role goes into entrenching that. Across many economies and countries, we have seen even China in the ancient, Honorable Speaker, when during the Ding dynasties and the others, that the primacy of having a robust bureaucracy was very important. And bureaucracy is made robust through training, through dynamism in terms of information, so that all the time they continue to be abreast with time, to be dynamic in a matter of time, but also dynamic as a matter of getting in as much information as there is for efficient running and efficient decision making. Honorable Speaker, it is important that we know that the judiciary is not just about judges. There are many what I would call paraprofessionals who also take part in making our judiciary work. Yes, paralegal, yes. Honorable Karori Omodi, that's very good information. Paralegal. It is important that we know it is beyond only judges, but there are also others, people who take part of whatever happens there. And of course, having an institution like the one we call Kenya School of Government in the executive, having an equivalent in the judiciary will go a long way in making sure that you have refined staff who continue to get information as it comes, and who continues to be as dynamic as the world itself. And it's important that we continue to also invest in it so that the administration of justice also continues to aid our economic growth, and especially through timely dissemination of justice, but also that which also is efficient and dynamic. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, it is also good that even us as a House, we also continue to be dynamic so that we continue to give our country the relevant laws, so that we don't have ambiguities when we go to the court of laws, so that we have straightforward judgments, Honorable Speaker, so that when we go before our judiciary, we can get clarity on the issues that we go to seek, Honorable Speaker. With those many remarks, I wish to submit.
What's your point of order? The Honorable Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, is Honorable Ndidi in order to talk about the Judicial Academy, which has to do with judiciary, without mentioning the decision that has just been made of our Honorable Wamunyoro. I thought he would take that as a very serious issue and discuss it within the context of what has just gone on, Mr. Speaker. Is he in order?
Much as it is entertaining what you have raised, one, it's not a point of order. Two, you raise or apprise on a point of order when the member is still on his feet contributing, not after he sat down. The Honorable Karoli Omondi, do you wish to contribute? I see your name here. Only two. Who have contributed? Karoli, I'm told that you have already contributed to this. But you should clarify that yourself. The Honorable Madam Esther Passaris.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the Kenya Judiciary Academy Bill 2025. Honorable Speaker, continuous judicial education is a constitutional imperative and essential component of a modern justice system. Our judges, magistrates, registrars, and judicial officers are called upon daily to interpret increasingly complex laws, address emerging technologies, respond to evolving social realities, and uphold the rights guaranteed under our Constitution. To do so effectively, they must have access to ongoing professional development and specialized training. This bill gives statutory recognition to the Kenya Judiciary Academy and provides clear legal frameworks for its governance, mandate, and financing. By anchoring the Academy in law, we are strengthening capacity of the judiciary to deliver justice that is timely, competent, fair, and responsive to the needs of Kenyans. Across the world, mature democracies have invested heavily in judicial education institutions because they recognize that the quality of justice depends not only on laws, but on the continuous development of those entrusted to interpret them and apply them. In the United States, the National Judicial College has trained judges from all 50 states and more than 150 countries. Its programs have helped improve case management, judicial ethics, alternative dispute resolution mechanism, and reduction of court delays. In England and Wales, the Judicial College provides continuing education for judges across civil, criminal, family, and tribunal jurisdictions. Importantly, judicial training remains under judicial control, reinforcing the principle that judicial independence must be protected not only in decision-making, but also in judicial development and education. Across Europe, the European Judicial Training Network facilitates cooperation among judicial institutions promotes consistent applications of law and strengthening mutual trust between courts in different jurisdictions. The result has been great efficiency, improved competence, and stronger judicial cooperation across borders. These examples demonstrate that judicial academies do more than train judges. They strengthen jurisprudence, improve court efficiency, promote ethical conduct, encourage consistency in judicial decisions, and enhance public confidence in the judicial system. As we support the bill, however, we must zealously guard against the independence of the judiciary. Judicial education must never become a pathway for political influence. The governance of the academy should remain firmly anchored within the Judicial Service Commission and the judiciary itself. In keeping with the doctrine of separation of powers and constitutional principles of judicial independence, I also encourage the academy to place great emphasis on emerging areas such as cybercrime, artificial intelligence, digital evidence, environmental justice, gender-based violence, child protection, mental health, mediation, and alternative dispute resolution. The justice system must evolve alongside the society it serves. Finally, judicial education should not focus solely on legal knowledge. It should also strengthen ethics, integrity, leadership, case management, trauma-informed justice, and victim-sensitive approaches. Justice must not be seen to be done, but it must be experienced by citizens as fair, humane, and accessible. A strong judiciary is one of the pillars of a stable democracy. By strengthening the Kenya Judicial Academy, we are investing in the quality of justice and for the future generations that will serve Kenyans. For those reasons, I stand here and support the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Madam Kimei Beatrice.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity, at least to support this bill, the Kenya Judiciary Academy Bill of 2025, Honorable Speaker. And recently we had a bill about the Forest Academy, which I am a committee of environment, forestry, and mining. And from there, I realized that unless we have an academy that does things, improves on training, improves on induction, and improves on areas of concern, then we will not go far. So for this case, I stand to support this bill. And more importantly, Honorable Speaker, Article 172, 1D of the Constitution mandates the Judicial Service Commission to prepare and implement programs for the continuation or continuing education training of judges and the officers concerned. And therefore, this bill will give a framework necessary for this constitutional obligation. And that is why I support it. Honorable Speaker, when we talk about the judges, unless they go through training, unless they go through orientation, induction, and continuous training, it may not be very easy, even for them, and especially those who have been in the system for very long, many years ago, because of the many issues that are coming up, the many emerging issues, areas of concern, like now the digital evidence, the cybercrime, the AI, environmental justice, and even international commercial law. So to catch up with that, the judges need training, they need induction, they need refresher course to catch up with the emerging issues. And therefore, this academy, being the principal institution for judicial training and capacity building, will be good for the judges, at least for that particular reason. I would also want to say, Honorable Speaker, that when we have this judicial academy, it will be an academy for the regional, to be a center of excellence in the region. And this will also strengthen the Kenya's position as a leader in judicial reform. That is to say, even other countries will actually be getting more knowledge from our churches because of that, Honorable Speaker. And this will even encourage many other young lawyers or maybe the magistrates and all that to make sure that they be more informed. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I want to say that when we allow this academy in the region, we'll also have campuses in other counties. This will also decentralize the academy, and this will improve access to training opportunities and support the constitutional values. And maybe to add on that, Honorable Speaker, the cases that we normally have take very long, many years, and this one becomes unfair even to the people going for the same. And when we have this academy and the magistrates, the judges are actually more knowledgeable, the cases will even take a shorter time. And therefore, I truly support and say it should be done as fast as possible, Honorable Speaker. And finally, the Board of Directors gets representation from judiciary, legal profession, universities, and other institutions. This diverse composition promotes accountability, professionalism, and stakeholder participation in the management of the academy. It is very important for us as a country that we have this important academy that will also sort and solve many of our issues. Once more, I support it, and thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
What's your point of order, the Honorable Makilap?
Mr. Speaker, I raise under Standard Order 95 that since this bill has been exhaustively debated, Mr. Speaker, we call the mover to reply. We call the mover to reply.
Order,
so that we
Honorable Makilap, the mood in the House does not favor. Order. The Honorable Mutunga.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I am grateful that you have ruled.
There's a very, very important finance bill.
I'm grateful that you have ruled against the subversion brought about my colleague to give us an opportunity to contribute to this important bill. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support that Kenya goes the way of coming up with the Kenya Judiciary
Honorable
Academy.
Mutunga, the chair was just communicating something. If you might take your seat briefly, just for a minute. Chairman Mutunga, take your seat for a moment. You know the primary function of a house, of a National Assembly, is to pass finance bills. Yeah, if you understand the history of this. So we have a finance bill because the public debt is basically a finance bill. Consideration of the expenditure of the consolidated fund services. And it's, I'll give 2 more or 3 more people, maximum 2, before we move on to the next order. Mutunga, take as little time as possible and say as many brilliant ideas as you can within that shortest possible time. Proceed. Please give him the mic.
Are you able to give me the mic? Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the Kenya Judiciary Academy Bill. Honorable Speaker, the question is whether this academy is necessary at this point in time. And I answer, yes, it is at the stage of development where Kenya is, and in tandem with the development of the other countries in the world. Honorable Speaker, this academy will be a resolution center
a resolution center in terms of coordinating, in terms of implementing, in terms of organized capacity building for the judicial officers and judicial service personnel, so that we have better people to deliver the function. Madam Speaker, there has been a missing link. The inauguration of this particular institution or establishment of this academy will basically bridge the gap to the extent that we will be able to prepare our professionals before they get into the commissioning. They will also be able to orientate them appropriately so that they may know exactly what is expected of them. I know for sure that judicial officers, most of them have gone through the training on law, on legal matters, and also Kenya School of Law. But then, when it comes to the practice itself, they need to be orientated by people who have been in the practice for a long time. Madam Speaker, it will also be able to honor the approaches of induction and also provide for further training and identification of who is supposed to be trained at any particular point in time. Madam Speaker, this particular institute, academy, will enable us to organize, and coordinate and building the content of engagement with other institutions across the globe. Madam Speaker, to engage with other institutions, it is important for us to be content oriented, to know exactly what do we need, what are our gaps, what exactly are we looking for. When we go for benchmarking, we need to know exactly what we are benchmarking on. And when we do not have an academy that resolves the issues within this particular sector, then it is not possible. It's also going to provide linkages and also foster partnerships. Partnerships for development, partnership in the judicial services and the legal fraternity, Honorable Speaker, and bring in other like-minded institutions to think together and resolve on how to develop, to discharge the function. Honorable Speaker, there is the creation of a knowledge repository or information repository, which is important. Data is key for purposes of growth and development. Data is key for research, and without data that is credible and data that can be bankable, then it is not possible for us to develop appropriately. It is going to also provide opportunity for research into the different approaches that have been taken in the determination of many cases that have been determined in the country, the processes that have been used, the historical injustices, if there have been any, and therefore it is possible for us to chart a way forward through research and findings thereby so that we may be able to develop a better judicial system in the country. It is also going to help us to basically express the profession to the people who may not be professionals in the area, in the sense that there will be periodicals and journals that will be read by people who are not necessarily lawyers or in the judicial sector, as it were. Honorable Speaker, it will also enable us to review or reflect on the administration of justice, in the sense that some of the anomalies or some of the failures that probably may be identifiable can be addressed in the future thinking, in the future planning, in the future training of such an institution. So it is going to help us a great deal to be able to organize the judicial service, as it were, and as a country. Honorable Speaker, it will also enable us to organize the other actors, to bring the other actors together. There are very many actors who are relevant in this particular field, and probably the role play, the mandate of these actors may not be very clear. And therefore, when we have an academy that is thinking through the sectoral issues, then it is possible for us to bring the actors with their mandates very clear, and therefore even their targets and also their deliverables being very well identified. It will help in progressing the career. The judicial career is key, and it keeps on changing. It's an evolving career. With the complications in the world, with the developments, as it were, it is important for us to have an academy that is going to be thinking through the developments across the board, and therefore translating and interpreting these developments in the extent and the possibilities that there may be. So it will also be able to bring in standards, or rather develop standards and apply these standards so that the standards can be used to develop the career and develop the profession, and therefore have a cross-checking mechanism to have a sector that is focused and that grows in the right direction. So now, Speaker, with those few remarks, I support. Thank you very much.
Honorable Sane. Can you give him the mic? The MP for Wajir North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In supporting the Kenya Judiciary Academy Bill 2025, I would wish to briefly run through my points without denying my colleagues the chance to contribute. Mr. Speaker, the Academy shall be an intellectual repository for all judicial staff and even officers of the court. It will be the source of wisdom through which fine principles shall come out for practice. Mr. Speaker, it will bolster the independence of judiciary as stipulated in the Constitution. An informed judiciary staff will strengthen, fortify the independence of the judiciary as it was envisaged. Mr. Speaker, we have had cases of backlogs, files being lost, exhibits misplaced or mishandled. With this kind of academy, we will be able to bring all judiciary staff abreast of what is required of them so that justice cannot be denied in any form or way. Mr. Speaker, this academy shall make sure that our magistrates and judges are well informed on contemporary legal dynamics, legal issues, discourses. The law is on motion, Mr. Speaker. So is the society. So that we can be in tandem, both the law and the society. This kind of academy shall make sure that our judges can be able to think on their toes. Our magistrates can think on their feet and make sure that they can dispel justice as is expected of them. That will offer continuous professional education, Mr. Speaker, tailor-made, specialized training for judges and magistrates and even judiciary staff, the clerks, the bottom level, which may be ill-informed. We have so many clerks at the judiciary who may not have the legal knowledge. So this academy comes at a time when we need to train all our judiciary staff to make sure that they have the requisite skills, legal skills to handle matters law. Mr. Speaker, transnational organized crime has been a major concern, a complex matter internationally. To handle such complex issues, this academy comes also handy to make sure that our judges, magistrates, and judiciary staff can handle such international concern and international crimes so that they can deal with it accordingly. It will offer a platform for e-learning, flexibility, so that all the staff can be able to learn and get acquainted with the law and the procedures of the court, Mr. Speaker. This academy shall be the think tank, and it will be the source of research, a hub for the knowledge so required in this country for all our legal minds, Mr. Speaker. It will offer mentorship. It will interface with other countries, regions, the East Africa being one, being a member of the East African community and other international communities. It will be able to mentor our judges, magistrates, and even our staff, and also imbibe knowledge we so need from other countries, and therefore improve our legal practice in this country. And finally, Mr. Speaker, this academy shall offer a good stakeholder engagement. It shall be able to deal with the judiciary itself, deal with the legislature, deal with the public, all arms of government. And with that kind of engagement, there will be more trust built and confidence on the part of the judiciary. With those few contributions, I support.
Madam Nyanze.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also hear my contribution to this bill. From the onset, I say that this bill seeks to formally establish the Kenyan Judiciary Academy as a legal body. And it is very important, especially at this particular time, since we have rapid growth in technology. And this rapid growth in this rapid growth, we have witnessed emerging issues like also AI, we have seen cybercrime, we've also seen transnational crimes, and these ones, this rapid growth in technology requires continuous improvement, continuous growth, and this academy will give that platform for continuous growth and also on how to tackle such issues. Mr. Speaker, recently we witnessed the Njanji's retirement benefits bill being ascended to, showing, and this shows ongoing judiciary reforms. And this academy is part of the wider efforts to strengthen the judiciary's institutional capacity. So this institution is very important because this is where judges and judicial officers, magistrates will be trained. And this would ensure continuing professional development of the judicial officers. Also, the public would also be enlightened on legal education, and this would give access to justice. And Mr. Speaker, this institution would also ensure that there is more research in law and administration of justice. So with this institution, researchers would even be enlightened more. And why this institution matters is that it will show independence. It will give independence and judicial training in law. This institution would also offer standards by harmonizing training instead of fragmented programs. So it will offer standards whereby the law would be put in one place. There would also be access to justice, which will show that better trained officers will improve, especially in case management, and reduce backlog. This is an issue which Kenya has suffered for a very long time. That is the backlog of many cases. So this institution, this academy, would ensure that there is better trained officers, which would show improvement in his even handling cases. Mr. Speaker, also funding would be ensured to this institution because now this academy can get direct budget, and this budget can now be allocated under Article 173 of the framework, showing that this academy would actually become independent. So with all those main remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support the academy, which will give continuous learning and continuous improvement in judicial matters. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice on this bill and support it. Mr. Speaker, the Judicial Academy Bill 2025 is one piece of legislation that we need to speed up its enactment. I've gone through the functions of this particular bill and noted that one key area that in dispensation of justice, we believe that there are particular category of staff that are very key, and these are judicial staffs. Apart from judges and magistrates who have the legal training, we have the clerks and other judicial staffs that are just hired directly from school, and they have nowhere where they can acquire this the legal training knowledge. And these particular people are very key, Honorable Speaker, in dispensation of justice to our people. These are the people who handle exhibits. They are the people who manage the files in court, but they have no knowledge on how, even on recording exhibits in court, how they record it, how to safeguard exhibit for our people to ensure that for those people who go to seek justice in court, they get justice. Honorable Speaker, we note that most professions in this country right now, they're embracing progressive professional training. For lawyers who are practicing, we have the continuous legal education, which is really handy for the practicing lawyers because you get trained on emerging issues that you never got the opportunity to learn while undergoing the legal training. When you come to medical practitioners, they also have their continuous continuous medical training, so that it's part of the training that you must satisfy for you to get the license to practice the following year. So for judicial staffs, this is a very handy piece of legislation that is going to help them progress their legal knowledge so that they serve our people better. And in our courts, we have other officers like probation officers, children officers. These are the people that help courts to deliver justice to our people. So for us to synchronize this service delivery in terms of the legal knowledge, we need to have all these people trained together on emerging issues. And also when we hire our judges and magistrates, where we hire them from from practice, we hire them from the corporate sector, we hire them from academia. So it's very important that once an officer has been hired to serve as a judge or a magistrate, it's important that we take them through the academy so that we refresh their mind, because the legal practice is diverse. When once someone completes training of law, he may choose to practice maybe land law, he may practice criminal law, he may practice even tax law. But once you cross over to join the bench, you are supposed to offer services that cuts across the board. So this particular academy will help us train and refresh the officers that we hire so that they can offer the best services to our people. Mr. Speaker, I support this particular bill.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I'm not here standing up to reply. I'm on a point of order to do certain clarifications regarding the bill. As the promoter of the bill, I must confess that the move of the bill is the lead of majority, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wa, and he's coming to reply. I must also thank the second of the bill. She's seated over there, Honorable Zuleka Haruni. She actually seconded the bill and it progressed very well. Two things I wish to clarify. Number one,
I know that.
What's your point of order, the Honorable Julius Sunkuli?
I know the Honorable Murugara is a very eminent lawyer and member of this House. But in accordance with our standing orders, once a member has contributed to a matter, he cannot have a second bite on it. And he cannot bring it under any other purview except to say that he is replying on behalf of the mover.
No. He says on a point of order.
No, but you see...
the clarification. Well, what exactly do you want to do, Honorable Murugara?
thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Number one, I'm on a point of order. Therefore, there is no way you can also raise a point of order on a point of order. The seasoning we are talking about.
What's your point of order? Order, Honorable.
Yes.
What's your point of order? Order, Honorable MP.
Honorable Udo.
Yeah, what's your point of order?
I have the standing orders in my fingertips, so don't ask me which one I'm supposed to cite. Honorable.
Daktari, you cannot turn this into a fish market. Proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the clarification as the promoter of the bill is on Article 172, sub-article 1D. No, I've not spoken on the matter. It's clarification that I'm doing. you cannot bar me from clarifying. See. Maklap, what is
Order, honorable members, order. Order. Honorable Murugara.
Yes.
Order. Honorable Murugara.
Yes.
I have the bill in front of me here. And you, as the chairperson of Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs,
Yes.
is the sponsor of the bill.
Yes, absolutely. I'm the promoter of the bill.
You're the promoter of the bill.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Therefore, surely nothing would bar me from where I feel there deserves to be a clarification on a point of information. Nothing bars me.
No, that order. Honorable members, the chair is seized on this house and the matter in front, and is going to give a direction. Order. I am addressing the house.
Yeah.
MP for Funyula, for God's sake, why would you want to invite the wrath of the chair? For absolutely no reason. You need to go order. You better take your seat first. I do understand that if you feel that there has been an understanding or a comprehension of the bill itself that you feel is misinformed, you can rise on a point of information and correct that. But you are rising on a point of information when who is on the floor? So you rise on that point of information when the majority leader or anybody else who is out there is going to be on the floor. And if he grants you that opportunity to inform the House, then you proceed and correct whatever you feel was incorrectly delivered in the first place. You can only say much obliged and sit down. Proceed. Now,
give me, I say it, so that we get it clear.
No, you have to. You can only stand on a point of information if there's somebody on the floor.
I am on a point of correction.
No, there's no point of correction.
Thank you.
Order.
Thank you very much,
With all due respect to you, you know how much I respect you. Please take your seat. Please take your seat. Order. Please take your seat and interrupt. I have not given you any. What's wrong with you? Why are you so excited? The matter has been put to rest. I have put it to rest. You can only stand on a point of information when somebody is contributing on the same, and if that person, the contributor, is willing to be informed, then he can say there was a misinformation, and that's where it is. Now, order. Under circumstances, I will call upon the mover to reply. Now, once the mover is replying, you cannot order. Proceed, mover to reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. That was more or less a commercial break. And let me begin, Honorable Speaker, by thanking all the members, especially the members of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, who considered this bill in their committee and conducted very extensive public participation and engaged with many stakeholders, including members of our judiciary, the academy itself, because the Judicial Academy actually does exist. It's not something new that is being created. It's just that it was operating under a legal notice, and now we want to anchor it in statute. And Honorable Speaker, in those engagements, and as I've heard from many members in their contributions, there are issues that came up, especially issues touching on the possible fiscal strain to our resources. And the National Treasury is one of the issues that I saw in their public participation report that they raised red flags on. The potential fiscal strain that the Academy could exert on resources that are going to the Judicial Service Commission and the judiciary. And therefore, they emphasized that we must have a very lean and efficient institutional framework and structure
that will not create unnecessarily heavy burden to taxpayers. And I want to ask that JLAC, members of the JLAC committee, because they are the ones who oversight the commission, to ensure, and I know, Honorable Speaker, you are a member of this committee, that in your oversight role, you ensure then that we come to the realization of that aspiration, that we will not have an institutional structure that is burdening the taxpayer, but it must be one that is very lean and efficient. And I believe the judiciary, through the Judicial Service Commission, has the capacity to be able to run such an institution. True, Honorable Speaker, I think the most pertinent issue that I've had being raised by members is on the possible conflicts between the provisions of Article 172, sub-Article D, 172(1)D, that gives the function, as part of the functions of the judiciary, and I know the member for Kilgoris, the Honorable member for Kilgoris, did raise this issue and in fact approached my office some time back around the same issue. That part of the functions of the Judicial Service Commission is to prepare and implement programs for the continuing education and training of judges and judicial officers. Therefore, there was that possible conflict that this is a role that has been given to the Judicial Service Commission, yet we are now again in statute establishing an institute, or rather an academy, that will be doing exactly what the Judicial Service Commission has been explicitly given in the Constitution to do, or a role that has, or a function that has been explicitly been provided for in the Constitution as the role of the Judicial Service Commission. And again, the Justice and Legal Affairs did engage in this matter, and the amendments in Chapter 6 and explicitly tie the leash to this academy directly to the Judicial Service Commission. And Clause 5 has been restructured to state clearly that the academy will perform its training functions strictly on behalf of the Commission. And therefore, there is no clawing back on the provisions of the Constitution, as the member for Kilgoris, the Honorable Sunkuli, had raised on the floor and actually raised it with me. That following the public participation that they engaged in and aware of the issues, and I must thank the Honorable Sunkuli for his diligence. This is what good legislators and proper legislative mechanisms behove of us. And thank you, Honorable Sunkuli, because it's something that you had noted and raised it. And the committee also did note that the provisions of the Constitution, 172(1)D, explicitly provide that function will be the function of the Judicial Service Commission. Therefore, we cannot, by statute, claw back on that which has been provided for in the Constitution, because, as we all know, those who studied a bit of law, Honorable Speaker, and I know you have not studied a bit of it, you've studied it in detail, that any law or any statute that is inconsistent with the Constitution will be void, ultra vires, if I remember my commercial law. It was said to be ultra vires, and therefore, to avoid that risk, then that clarification has been done in Clause 6, in Chapter 6, Clause 5 of the bill, and therefore, we will not have to worry. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, we have completely deleted initial provisions that would have allowed the Academy to independently source outside grants or standalone funding tracts. Under the amended Clause 13, every single shilling spent by this academy must be explicitly approved by the National Assembly as a lean component of the main judiciary budget. Again, Honorable Speaker, this is to ensure that the judiciary remains independent, but as much as they're independent, then they must be oversighted. Therefore, the Jailer Committee, still as the people who oversight them, will have work to ensure that every coin that goes into this academy is checked by members of the committee on behalf of the House, and therefore to ensure that that which was asked for by the National Treasury, that we have a lean and efficient structure, is actualized. And therefore, again, back to your committee in the JLAC, you have work to do. Honorable Speaker, on issues that I have seen members also raise, again, the committee noted on worries concerning management overlaps between the positions of Director General and Registrar. And Honorable Speaker, the amendments clean up this very neatly by ensuring that the Director General is appointed directly by the Commission to provide strategic direction.
And clause 11 has been has also been amended, if you look at the committee's report, to clarify that the registrar is a singular head of staff and the functional accounting officer of the academy. Therefore, just like in ministries, you have a CS who is a head of policy directives or policy formulation in the ministry, and a PS who is an accounting officer. Even here, we'll have the Director General who will be appointed by the Commission to offer strategic direction to the academy. But the work of the accounting officer will be vested in the office of the registrar. And therefore, there will be no possible conflict, as a few members had raised, and the committee also noted. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I think with that I have done justice to many of the issues that members had raised, that I was noting even as I sat in my office. I was noting some of the issues that members were raising, and I believe I have adequately replied, and therefore I beg to reply.
Honorable members, I now put the question that the Kenya Judiciary Academy Bill, National Assembly Bill number 42 of 2025 be now read a second time. Will as many of the appearance say aye? Aye. Will as many of the contrary appearance say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to establish the Kenya Judiciary Academy to give effect to Article 172, 1D of the Constitution, to provide for the management functions and power of the Kenya Judiciary Academy and for connected purposes. Order number 9, motion, consideration of the expenditures of the Consolidated Fund Services under the budget estimates for the financial year 2026-2027.
Yes, what's your point of order, the Majority Leader?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wanted to beg your indulgence on a matter that we considered in the House Business Committee, but we opted not to have it done as part of as a supplementary order paper. On business listed, without anticipating debate, Honorable Speaker, on business listed as order number 10 and order number 11, the chair of the Agriculture Committee, who is here, the Honorable Mutunga, is finalizing on the report on the Plant Protection Bill listed at order number 10 and the Competition Amendment Bill listed under order number 11. The Finance Committee is also finalizing on stakeholder engagement. Therefore, wanted to seek your indulgence that we drop these two orders so that after order number 9, we proceed to order number 12 proceeding, and we drop from the order paper orders number 10 and 11.
Fair enough, it's so directed. Thank you. Now we are in order number 9. And order number 9, the chair, public debt. And Presidential Committee, can you move your motion?
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House adopts the report.
This House.
Okay, sorry.
You read it verbatim when it's possible. Yes. Verbatim.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the expenditures of the expenditures of the Consolidated Fund Services under the budget estimates for the financial year 2026-2027, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 2nd of June 2026. Honorable Speaker, I am Honorable Adan Dawood, MP for Wajir East, and I rise to move this motion on behalf of the Chairperson of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee. Honorable Speaker, allow me at the outset to thank you and the August House for the continued support accorded to the committee in the discharge of its mandate. I also wish to sincerely appreciate the members of the committee for their commitments, diligence, valuable contributions during the examination of the Consolidated Fund Services expenditures under the financial year 2026-2027 budget estimates. Honorable Speaker, the committee's consideration of the Consolidated Fund Services expenditures was undertaken within the broader fiscal framework for the financial year 2026-2027. This is important because the CFS expenditures are mandatory expenditures charged directly on the consolidated fund and must therefore be met before resources are available for other budgetary priorities. Consequently, their size and composition have a direct bearing on the fiscal deficit, in-year liquidity space, and borrowing requirements, and the overall sustainability of the public debt. Honorable Speaker, in the financial year 2026-2027, total revenue is projected at Kenya shillings 3.63 trillion, equivalent to 17.4% of the GDP. This remains below the policy target of 20% of the GDP. On the other hand, total expenditure is projected at Kenya shillings 4.79 trillion, or 23% of the GDP, resulting in a fiscal deficit of 1.11 trillion, equivalent to 5.3% of GDP. Honorable Speaker, although this deficit represents a marginal decline from the 1.2 trillion, or 6.4% of the GDP for the financial year 2025-2026, it remains significantly high. It also implies that the public debt is expected to increase by more than 1 trillion for the third consecutive year. Honorable Speaker, the financing of this deficit is heavily tilted towards domestic borrowing. Net domestic borrowing is projected at Kenya shillings 995 billion, accounting for about 90% of the fiscal deficit, while net external borrowing is projected at 116.1 billion, or about 10% of borrowing. While domestic borrowing provides stability and predictability on budget financing, over-reliance on domestic borrowing and domestic markets may increase refinancing risks, internal costs, and liquidity pressures. Honorable Speaker, it is within this fiscal context that the committee examined the Consolidated Fund Services expenditures. As indicated, CFS expenditures consist of expenditures that are a direct charge on the consolidated fund and therefore constitute non-discretionary expenditures that must be met before resources are made available for other budgetary priorities. Furthermore, Honorable Speaker, these expenditures are not subject to appropriation by the National Assembly, subject to the Constitution and statute. Honorable Speaker, it is for this reason that the size, composition, and growth of the CFS expenditures have a direct bearing on fiscal space, budget flexibility, debt sustainability, and the capacity of government to finance development expenditures. Honorable Speaker, these expenditures include public debt service, pension payments, salaries and allowances for holders of constitutional office and other independent offices, among other statutory expenditures. Honorable Speaker, for the financial year 2026-2027, CFX expenditures are projected at Kenya shillings 2.56 trillion, representing a marginal decline of Kenya shillings 21.6 billion from the 2.58 trillion under Supplementary 1 for the financial year 2025-2026. However, the committee urges caution in interpreting this decline, noting that similar reduction had initially been projected in financial year 2025-2026 before CFS expenditures increased under supplementary estimates 1. So we are cautioning that there may be a supplementary estimate in the coming financial year that may balloon the expenditures from what we are seeing, what we are reporting today. Honorable Speaker, public debt service remains the largest component of CFS expenditures. In the financial year 2026-2027, public debt services is projected at Kenya shillings 2.31 trillion, accounting for about 90% of the total CFX expenditures. Pension expenditure is projected at 241.94 billion, while salaries, allowances, and other statutory expenditures are projected at 5.153 billion. Honorable Speaker, of the 2.31 trillion allocated to public debt service, Kenya shillings 1.25 trillion relates to interest payments, while about 1.06 trillion relates to redemptions on principal repayments. Interest payments, therefore, account for 54% of the total debt service, while redemptions account for 46%. The committee therefore observed that more than half of the public debt service expenditure will go towards meeting cost of borrowing rather than reducing the outstanding principal stock of debt. Honorable Speaker, this debt service structure has significant fiscal implications. Interest payments are estimated to be about 6% of GDP, compared to development expenditure, which is only 3.6% of GDP. This shows that the cost of carrying public debt continues to absorb a substantial share of public resources, thereby limiting the fiscal space available to development expenditure, capital formation, and economic growth. Honorable Speaker, the committee has consistently emphasized that addressing the rising public debt stock requires stronger GDP support, GDP growth. However, stronger growth depends on increased and well-targeted development expenditure, particularly in growth-enhancing and revenue-generating sectors. This will support economic growth, improve revenue performances, strengthen fiscal consolidation, and enhance the country's capacity to service the public debt over the medium term. Honorable Speaker, the committee further noted that domestic debt service is projected at 1.64 trillion, accounting for about 71% of the total public debt service. Domestic debt redemptions or principal repayments are projected at 648.78 billion, while domestic interest payments are projected at 986.73 billion. Further, domestic bond maturities are projected to increase to 440.17 billion in the financial year 2026-2027, compared to 275.6 billion in the financial year 2025-2026, indicating increased refinancing pressures. Honorable Speaker, external debt service is projected at 680.38 billion, comprising external interest of 267.51 billion and external redemptions of Kenya shillings 412.87 billion. Although external debt service is projected to decline compared to the financial year 2025-2026, commercial external debt remains a medium-term concern. Between the financial years 2027-2028 and financial years 2029 and 30, approximately 1.2 trillion is projected to be incurred in servicing commercial external debt. Honorable Speaker, arising from its review, the committee made several observations. First, the committee observed that the CFX expenditures, net of domestic debt redemptions, have increased from 27% of ordinary revenue in the financial year 2016 to 2017 to a projected 50% in the financial year 2026-2027. This demonstrates the increasing rigidity of the budget and the decline in fiscal space available for discretionary spending. Honorable Speaker, the committee also observed that the public debt stock is projected to reach 14.12 trillion by June 2027, and the net present value of public debt to GDP estimated at 65. That's what's commonly called the debt anchor. This is above the statutory debt anchor of 55% and within the 5% margin. Honorable Speaker, the committee further observed that while external loans are contracted for liability management operations, the use of these proceeds be clearly disclosed. This is particularly important when part of the proceeds is applied towards general budget financing through consolidated fund. Enhanced disclosure will improve transparency, enable Parliament to assess the costs and benefits of such operations, and ensure that commercial borrowing supports long-term debt sustainability. Honorable Speaker, the committee also noted concerns in the management of on-lent loans, the continued write-off, restructuring, or forgiveness of obligations owed by defaulting entities without clear accountability and reporting to the National Assembly may create a moral hazard, weaken the financial discipline, and send the wrong signals to the borrowing agencies. Honorable Speaker, arising from these observations, the committee makes the following recommendations. First, the committee recommends that the National Treasury implements a fiscal consolidation framework on a medium-term basis aligned to Section 16 of the PFM Act, Chapter 412A, aimed at progressively reducing the fiscal deficit and stabilizing the public debt within the statutory debt anchor under Section 50. Second, the committee recommends that within 30 days of adoption of this report, the National Treasury submits to the National Assembly a clear debt reduction path indicating annual targets, policy measures, and timeliness for achieving the debt anchor of 55% debt to GDP threshold in net present value terms. Third, the committee recommends from 1st of July 2026, the National Treasury strengthens resource mobilization procedures by ensuring that all loans are subjected to adequate project appraisal, economic valuation and assessment of the expected economic rates of return before contracting. This will ensure that any marginal increase in the public debt translates in measurable economic impact. Fourth, the committee recommends that all liability management operations be supported by cost-benefit analysis, disclosure of the conditions, the assessment of their impact on debt sustainability, and disclosure on their impact on debt sustainability. Where commercial loans are contracted for liability management, the National Treasury should disclose the portion used for debt repayments and the portion applied towards general budget financing and the projects financed. Fifth, the committee recommends that the National Assembly rationalizes non-priority recurrent expenditure and progressively increase allocation to growth-enhancing development expenditure from 3.6% of GDP to 10% of GDP. That is, the committee is asking for a boost in development expenditure vis-a-vis other expenditures. Sixth, in order to address moral hazard of on-lent loans, the committee recommends that within 3 months of adoption of this report, the National Treasury develops an accountability framework for defaulting entities. The committee further recommends that any proposed write-off, restructuring or forgiveness of on-lent loan obligations be submitted to the National Assembly for consideration and approval before implementation. Finally, the committee recommends that the National Treasury should also, within 3 months, submit to the National Assembly a comprehensive report on all defaulting entities over the past 10 years, indicating the total amounts forgiven, outstanding obligations, reasons for the default, impact on projects, recovery measures undertaken, and accountability measures applied. Honorable Speaker, the committee's recommendations are therefore intended to strengthen the parliamentary oversight over fiscal policy and public debt management, safeguard development expenditure, and ensure that public borrowing is directed towards productive investments that support economic growth, national prosperity, and Kenya's long-term debt repayment capacity. The committee further notes that it is under the 13th Parliament, and through your leadership as Speaker, that this strengthened framework of oversight of public debt and consolidated fund services expenditures have been made possible. With those many remarks, therefore, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request Honorable McLeod to second. Thank you.
McLeod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on consideration of expenditures of the Consolidated Fund Services under the financial year 2026-2027 budget estimates. Mr. Speaker, it's important to note that this committee has put up spirited recommendations on how to contain the rise on public debt and how to advise the National Treasury on how to carry out serious fiscal consolidation and sustainability in management of public debt. Mr. Speaker, I support the remarks made by our chair and commend the committee for presenting a report that speaks directly to fiscal sustainability, public debt, debt management, and the need to place economic growth at the center of sustainability. Mr. Speaker, we talked so many times on how to manage the public debt. Mr. Speaker, if we borrow and invest on entities that are not commercially viable, that are not able to generate the necessary revenue for economic growth, then the consequence, Mr. Speaker, is that the debt will choke us. And I want to thank the National Treasury and their team because so far they have not been able to witness serious default on loans. Mr. Speaker, let us speak to our country. Let us speak to what our generation will inherit from this country. When we talk about fiscal consolidation, it is not enough. We need to go down and invest our resources, borrowed resources, on programs, on development projects that are going to generate the necessary resources for us to get the necessary revenues to invest or to put in our budget. Mr. Speaker, take for instance, Mr. Speaker, this report shows that the CFS expenditures are projected at 2.56 trillion in financial year 2026-27, with the public debt service accounting to 2.31 trillion, or about 90% of the total. Of this, 1.2 trillion relates to interest payments. Mr. Speaker, we are spending a lot of resources in this country, not to pay the principal debt, but to pay interest accruing from loans borrowed. And even worse, Mr. Speaker, is where we pay out money in advance of loans so that we have too much money outside there and the loans that we have borrowed is not forthcoming. Mr. Speaker, it is time to look at the resources that we borrow, vis-a-vis the programs that we want to do, so that there is value for money in this country. Mr. Speaker, with a fiscal deficit of 1.1 trillion, Mr. Speaker, for those other Kenyans who may not be able to understand that, it means in our budget there is a hole. This hole has to be financed. There is a hole that we need to fill of 1.1 trillion shillings that we either borrow domestically or borrow externally. And if these resources come, then you should be able to generate enough resources to be able to repay the debt. You see, Mr. Speaker, the consequence of refinancing, you know, you borrow to repay another debt is actually putting yourself on a huge debt crisis. Then how do we do it as a country? And this is why So, Speaker, this is why this committee, in their wisdom, recommends to National Treasury steps to be taken to be able to reduce our fiscal deficit to a state, even in our country, where we can do a balanced budget. Mr. Speaker, we want to leave a generation where they will have a balanced budget, Mr. Speaker, rather than always doing a budget when the country listens to that budget, they think there's a lot of money, but there is a space that needs to be done, to be filled. Mr. Speaker, programs. How do we bridge this space, Mr. Speaker? One, borrowing domestically, and it is seen from this report, Mr. Speaker, that we can borrow up to around 990 billion. That's a trillion, Mr. Speaker, domestically. When you borrow domestically, you put pressure on the private sector. You put pressure on people who want to borrow because now people want to lend to government. What is the consequence? Interest rates will rise. And then the private sector, which is a driver of our economic growth, the industries, Mr. Speaker, will not be able to grow because government is borrowing domestically faster than the private sector. Mr. Speaker, and this is why this committee is recommending some serious steps, including giving a framework, the National Treasury to give a framework within 30 days and clear debt reduction path showing annual targets, policy measures, and timelines for achieving the statutory debt anchor. The path should not show how debt will be reduced, but will also how the economy will grow faster through productive investment and improved revenue performance. Mr. Speaker, these are serious things that we need to put in our country. You see, when you borrow and you invest, then if you don't want to serve a lot of debt, then your economy should be able to grow faster than what you are borrowing. And that is when you'll have a serious, just give me 1 minute, Mr. Speaker. There is also need, Mr. Speaker, when we attended the World Bank meeting, there is also need to report all our debt, external and domestic, on the Meridian method of reporting debt. Mr. Speaker, so that we don't have debt outside our budget books that constrains that in the eyes of the public we show good, but in real sense we are suffering. So what are we saying, Mr. Speaker? That now we must have a plan on how to apply borrowed resources on how to apply our budget so that we have enough resources to be able to repay our debt without constraining and be able to grow our economy systematically. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the report calls for a stronger transparency in liability management and operations and accountability in on-lend loans. These recommendations are important because public borrowing must be properly and prudently managed, clearly reported, and tied to measurable, tangible development outcomes. This report is progressive and forward-looking. It recognizes that the fiscal sustainability requires discipline. Discipline, Mr. Speaker. Discipline the borrowing. Better debt management strategy. Stronger accountability. And most importantly, faster and more inclusive gross-domestic product of our country. Mr. Speaker, I second this particular report, that it is progressive and we can do better as a country when the recommendations of this report is given out and National Treasury implements. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the expenditure of the Consolidated Fund Services under the budget estimates for the year 2026-2027, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, the 2nd of June, the year 2026. Dindi Nyoro, a moment before you start contributing. Do you still have the school in the public gallery? Huh? 10 workers left. Okay, fair enough. Continue.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for this chance. And I actually commend the committee because it is clear the committee did its work. Instead of singing choruses to the executive, they have actually pointed in their reports that we are in a very dire situation when it comes to the debt situation in this country. That now Kenya is at 13 trillion Kenya shillings in public debt, Honorable Speaker, projected to be over 14 trillion Kenya shillings by mid of next year. And Honorable Speaker, this is just an accumulation of the decisions that we continue to take, and especially now, where we are digging the hole even deeper, even when we are in it. That every day, Honorable Speaker, Kenya is borrowing 1.2 trillion Kenya shillings every year. And currently, including today, if you average what you are borrowing, Honorable Speaker, is that you are borrowing 4 billion Kenya shillings in net terms every single day, Honorable Speaker. Net terms meaning even after accepting refinancing, where you borrow the SACCO to pay the Shylock. We have even accepted that, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a very unprecedented situation because in the year from 2002, our debt was 600 billion Kenya shillings. During the reign of President Mwai Kibaki, he borrowed only 1.2 trillion Kenya shillings in his entire 10 years. Honorable Speaker, we are now borrowing more money per year than Honorable Mwai Kibaki borrowed for the entire 10 years, Honorable Speaker. We are now borrowing 500 billion Kenya shillings more than the era of President Uhuru Kenyatta. That at around that time from 2013 all the way to 2022, Kenya was borrowing an average of 700 billion Kenya shillings every year. Now we are borrowing 1.2, and especially out of this year, Honorable Speaker. And I ask this government, do you want to break the record of borrowing? I think the better records to break are the records of good governance, not the records of profligate borrowing, as we see it now, Honorable Speaker. And what is even more worrying is that whatever I'm reporting before this House is actually what we would call official debt. This government has gone further, something that has never been done ever. That from last year, we have now opened a separate book where we are calling it many names. In one name, it's called securitization. In another name, it's called talanta board. Illegal borrowing, that as we talk before this house today and to Kenyans, that this government is now beyond over borrowing more than all the other previous years. We now want to even borrow and use the housing levy as collateral. And we are doing that so that we do not report these debts in the actual books that are known across the world. And Honorable Speaker, what Kenyans must know is this, that even as Kenya is borrowing over 1.2 trillion every year now, and 4 billion Kenya shillings every single day, any development they can see and touch is actually not out of this borrowing. Any ongoing road in Kenya is another loan on the side called securitization, where even the debt committee in this house has never had even a single document relating to that illegal debt. Anything you see around stadiums being constructed in Kenya is also not part of the official loans that I've reported. It is another illegal loan called Talanta Board, where Kenya borrowed 45 billion Kenya shillings to pay an interest rate, not interest rate, but even amount, to pay the amount of interest over 100 billion Kenya shillings. A loan of 45 billion to pay an interest of 100 billion Kenya shillings. And therefore we are asking as Kenyans, and especially from these illegal borrowings that started last year, the money Kenya is borrowing every day, 4 billion Kenya shillings, and per year, 1.2 trillion. Where is this money going to, Honorable Speaker? And to put it into context, that money that we have borrowed so far, of close to 4.5 trillion Kenya shillings, is enough money to have had 100 kilometers of completed tarmac road in every constituency. It is money enough to have put electricity and connected electricity to every single homestead in Kenya, Honorable Speaker. It is enough money to have connected every homestead in Kenya to clean water, Honorable Speaker.
Add him an additional 1 minute.
And Honorable Speaker, this money is money enough to have made education totally free in Kenya, from nursery, PP1, Honorable Speaker, all the way to the university. And therefore we are asking, this government needs to address Kenyans. This money we are borrowing, where is it going? The second thing is that now we see we are moving away from foreign debt. We are moving away from money we borrow at 3% to borrow domestically at around at double digit. And Honorable Speaker, Kenyans are asking why, but this is the answer. We are leaving cheaper money for more expensive money because we are running away from accountability. And that is why external lenders of stature, like IMF, like the World Bank, they are no longer lending money to Kenya, Honorable Speaker, because they can see the kind of carelessness at which you are borrowing. And especially the fact that now the people in the executive pretend to be clever to borrow money on the book and off the book, Honorable Speaker. The other thing that I want to highlight as I come to the conclusion, that now our deficit is around 5.5% of our GDP at the beginning of a financial year. And this is always a moving target as we move towards the closure of the financial year. Honorable Speaker, that we are now at 5.5%, meaning we can already foresee by the closure of the financial year, maybe it will be around 7%, something unprecedented. It is time we call the leadership of this country into order. We cannot continue to overburden the current Kenyans, and at the same time, we want political collapse by overburdening hugely even the future generations. It is time for this house to stand up, Honorable Speaker. It is time for this house to say no to this profligate.
Order, indeed. What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, with due respect, Mr. Speaker, is it in order for my good friend, the former chair of budget, to look at this government when he served as the chairman of budget for 3 years and he budgeted a lot of debt to this country, Mr. Speaker? I thought it could be only wise to advise rather than lecturing the same government that he served for 3 years and budgeted a lot of
debt in our system.
You had exhausted your time. I think he just made a comment. He made a comment. To do what? To contribute or to respond? Give him half a minute.
Honorable Makirap, it is very good you actually rose as part of the debt committee, just to show Kenyans that you have slept in your job for the last many years you've been in the debt committee. That the budget committee was about spending. The committee on which you actually seconded their report is where you've been, and it is good to have broadcasted your failure. But Honorable Speaker, it is important for us not to trivialize this important matter, and to know that whatever decisions that you are making today will influence the Kenya of tomorrow.
What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, is it in order for my good friend and colleague, Honorable Dini Nyoro, to say that the Committee of Debt has failed for the last 3 years or 4? So, Speaker, it is through the recommendation of this committee, Mr. Speaker, that the Kenya government has been able to manage their debt and be able to repay their debt without a single default. Mr. Speaker, it is the budget committee that has been giving us proposals here, Mr. Speaker, including programs that are supposed to be funded through debt, Mr. Speaker. So who has failed, Mr. Speaker? It is my colleague here who failed, Mr. Speaker, a long time ago.
Honorable Nidi Nyoro, order, I mean, with a light touch. Honorable Nidi Nyoro.
And lastly,
order. We have to be fair to everybody. The budget committee is the one which asks for more money. So when you ask for a lot of money, and you are aware of the fact that that money is a debt that this country can ill sustain, I fail to see where you can get off the hook and say that this can only be left to the debt committee. What's your point of order, Honorable Majority Leader?
You know, Honorable Speaker, you're on point.
Yes.
And in fact, I was just listening to my brother contribute to this debate. And he said certain unparliamentary things or language that is demeaning, such as all of a sudden the government has become very intelligent, or people in government purport to have become very intelligent. And what you are saying is actually true. The debt committee deals with what the Budget and Appropriations Committee has worked on in estimates.
Yes.
My brother Dindi Nyoro was our chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee for 2 years. Therefore, if this government has borrowed for 3 years, 2 out of the 3 years, it is my brother Dindi Nyoro who presided over that borrowing and budgeted for that borrowing and moved the House to approve that borrowing. Therefore, if there are people who have suddenly become intelligent, maybe it is my brother Dindi Nyoro who now suddenly has become more intelligent than everybody else. And therefore, Dindi, I told my brother the other day, I was chair of Budget and Appropriations Committee in 2017, 2018, rather 2018, 2019. And I conducted 2 full financial year budgets and 3 supplementaries. But I have never stood in my place to deny that which I did. Because you must, as a leader, be able to stand for what you do and be a man of principle. Therefore, Dindi Nyoro, unless you are telling us, as member for Kiharu, that the 2 budget or 3 budget cycles that presided over, you presided over either because you are not intelligent then and you have suddenly become intelligent, or you presided over illegalities, knowing there were illegalities. Then you should just come clean and tell us you presided over illegalities, or someone held a gun over your head to preside over illegalities. Is that simple?
I think we're not going to allow this to be. Yeah, but you've been the chair of the budget committee. No. Hang on a minute. Just for the interest of the chair, you've been the chair of the budget committee, and this runaway borrowing that you're talking about did not start after you left the budget committee. You were there overseeing a lot of it. And the impression you're giving right now is that you've been the good guy out there, and everybody else has been doing, I wouldn't say it illegalities because it's a committee, it's a nation, but a runaway or an amok manner in which the financial, public sector finances have been handled over this period of time. I'll give you just a minute and then let's continue with it.
It's very good we are engaging, Honorable Speaker, on this matter. When I served Kenya as the chairman of budget, there was no single illegal borrowing. The illegal borrowing called securitization started in the year 2025, and that is on record. Secondly, out of the point of orders, I have heard the former chair, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. It actually confirms the same thing, that even the majority leader in the House is not aware that there is a House committee here that deals with debt. And the more the reason, Honorable Speaker, that they should be more creative, and even the Finance Committee, because there is a reason why even now the budget...
Hang on a minute, this is interesting. Honorable, what's the point of order, the majority leader?
You know, Honorable Speaker, as I said, my brother pretends to play around with words to look intelligent. But I don't want to say he's not intelligent. But, Honorable Speaker, you had just guided him. That besides whether or not he was a former chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, what is borrowed is what is not being financed from our revenues. And it is being borrowed to finance our expenditure estimates. The Budget and Appropriations Committee is the one that takes us through the budget estimates that we just approved here last week on Thursday in committee. And my brother Dindi Nyoro was here, and he knows it. Therefore, I know Dindi Nyoro, my brother. I know you want to look for an opportunity to do clips, TikTok clips, and Instagram, to people out there who do not know what we know in this house. And that is why, Honorable Speaker, as you had guided my brother, he should not use the floor of this house to mislead the public out there because he knows the truth. He has just said another untruth, that there was no securitization before when he was chair of Budget and Appropriations Committee. He knows that is not true. But he knows Kenyans out there do not have the facts in their hands. And therefore you must be challenged on your untruths, because saying lies is unparliamentary. But what is untrue is untrue. Honorable Dindi Nyoro, let us be honest with Kenyans. Let us be faithful to the truth. Let us be loyal also to the professions. Honorable Dindi Nyoro purports to be an economist or a student of economics. I am a student of economics. And as much as we work from assumptions in economics, I'm also an accountant where we work with facts and figures. That is why I stand on facts and figures. And the truth that never changes, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Dindi Nyoro, while you're on your feet, what was the total debt in the year 2022?
The total debt in the year 2022 was 8.7 trillion Kenya shillings.
And the total debt, 2023?
I know the current. You may give me time to check. But I can tell you the scope.
Order. Can you, this is also a house of facts. Give us what was order. What was the total debt in the year 2022? Just a moment. 2023, 2024, 2025, and then you tell us when it started running crazy.
Honorable Speaker, I want to repeat and speak loudly. There was no single issue of illegal debt of the book loan prior to last year mid. It's called securitization. There was no single one when I served Kenya as the chairman of budget. Secondly, my brother Kimani Ichung'wah, it is also good for you to be truthful to yourself. The reason why we debate...
The chair is the one which is seeking clarification for the benefits of the wider house and the nation out there. I want somebody to tell me what was the total debt 2023, 22, 23, 24, 25? And then you show me where things started going nuts. Yes, go ahead, Honorable. You might be able to shed lights on that.
Honorable Speaker, as I said, my brother from Kiharu things, you know, you can fool some people sometimes, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. And I had to come back from my office because I listened to a lot of untruths. You're asking a specific question.
Yes.
My brother is avoiding answering the specific question because he knows for the 2 years he was the chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, we were still borrowing. Number two, Honorable Speaker, in trying to fool people, he's now talking about securitization. I would challenge the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro to show us in this Public Debt Committee's report where the issue of securitization is in their report. Because the issues, when I listened to the mover, the Honorable Adan move, and the seconder, the member for Baringo North, they were speaking about the fiscal deficit that is as a consequence of what we have already budgeted for as a house, including projects in Kikuyu constituency, in Kiharu constituency, and in all our constituencies in the country, Honorable Speaker, including the teachers that we are paying for the 100,000 teachers we have recruited. And not to mention the school capitation that the member for Kiharu was trying to incite the public out there again on. That school capitation money has been provided for here. And he knows the revenue estimates as they are. And he has been there, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, let him answer you, Honorable Speaker, the specific question.
Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, order. Can you take a seat? Order. The total public debt as of June the year 2024 was 10.56 trillion. The year? 2024 June. If my memory serves me, you were then the chair of the Budget Committee. And then we will have the other one, you know, you can find out exactly what was the total debt again in the year 2025, the same time. But you can see there's already well over 2.something trillion from 2022 to 2024. So the borrowing even then was in excess of 1 trillion per year, as you put it right now. When you're still there as a chair of the I'm doing this purely for purposes of getting facts out for the benefit of Kenyans and the wider plenary. Okay. Let me give an opportunity to the Honorable MP for Funyula. Order, relax, you'll have your moment. The MP for Funyula, you want to rise on yours. Because this should not only look like a debate between the majority leader and Ndindi Nyoro and the chair seeking facts. Let's hear what he has to say. Then you will also have your moment to take a bite of that. Yes.
Honorable Speaker, allow me to make this, and I hope I might not lose my slot to contribute. I was the next. So you have asked for information, which you can Google anytime, anywhere.
Yes.
And if you allow me, Honorable Speaker, at the end of June 2023, the public debt in Kenya stood at 10.27 trillion. That is in June 2023. I just changed here by, anybody who has got a phone can tell you 2024. At the end of 2024, allow me to keep on checking. Yes, at the end of June 2024, it stood at 10.6 trillion. These are factual facts, Honorable Speaker, coming from Parliamentary Budget Office. And I have seen from the records they have provided us, is now 12.48 something, 487. So you can see the exponential increase over the period of time. Facts don't lie, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Data doesn't lie. You can manipulate the data, but the primary data doesn't lie. Fact. Period and simple. Thank you, Speaker.
You have half a minute to explain to us why under your own tenure for 2 years, the thing was still going at above $1 trillion per year.
Honorable Speaker, number one, that is not factual. The entire 3 years, the debt was averaging 800. But it is also important that we face Kenyans clearly and tell them there is a reason why this parliament has 3 committees. It's not my business to keep on answering questions about finance committee and debt committee. The work of the budget was about expenditure. unless then we disband the debt committee in this house and the finance committee, and they become departments of the budget committee. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable Ndini Nyoro. Sorry, the chair. The purpose of the budget committee is to look at what has to be borrowed and what has to be raised. Order. Yes, now you contribute. I think let's stop this. While you're contributing, maybe you can also keep on educating Kenyans and the wider plenary on these things.
Speaker, I know this is a house of debate and it's a house of records.
Yes.
And I think this kind of exchange should be encouraged as many times as possible so that Kenyans can know that members of parliament are not just yes, are not voting robots, but our brains they can debate.
And that's why precisely why the chair is
Honorable Speaker,
yes.
let me also join my colleague to support the report by the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on the consideration of the expenditures of the consolidated fund services under the financial year 2026-2027 budget estimates. Honorable Speaker, allow me to start by reading verbatim the report of the committee, paragraph 91. At about 6% of GDP, interest payments exceed development expenditure, which is estimated at 3.6% of GDP, indicating that debt service costs remain a major component of public spending and continue to shape the fiscal space available for development priorities. Honorable Speaker, anybody who has attended an elementary economics class knows that an economy has got a higher chance of expanding if most of the budget or expenditure is towards development. Current consumption, Honorable Speaker, as much as it might be a source of improvement of the economy, it does not expand the economy. That's a fact. So, Honorable Speaker, the import of this particular statement alone, I say so, Honorable Speaker, I'm a Christian, and many a time will read a verse in the Bible and base the homily or the preaching on that verse. I don't know how the Muslim brother do it, but that's where I have started. Honorable Speaker, the import of this particular observation is a committee observation, is that this economy has no chance of expanding to accommodate the ever-increasing number of young people and Kenyans joining this economy. That's the truth, the fact. Any other stories, any other political pontification is our typical political posturing. And that's why, Honorable Speaker, we must as a country sit down and be honest with each other. Again, typical. We are having a budget expenditure of 4.6 trillion. We have an estimated revenue of about 3-point-something, meaning we are going to have a deficit of 1.1 trillion. 1.1 trillion. It means, Honorable Speaker, we are borrowing. We are going to borrow about 30% of what we need to spend this year. Honorable Speaker, what that means is simple this. We have an adage, when you are in a hole, you stop digging the hole if you want to get out. We are in a hole, we keep on fetching water to pour the water gets sipped into the soil, and we remain in the hole. We'll never get out of the hole. Honorable Speaker, the challenge now lies on us. The challenge lies on the executive. The so-called experts ODM donated to Treasury to really sit down and avoid endless journeys in choppers, to sit on the desk, scratch your head, think through, and make sure, Honorable Speaker, we resolve this matter. There is so much to be said, and which we continue to say outside there, Honorable Speaker, the truth, finally as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, the most interesting observation is that the debt prepayment, most of it goes to domestic debt, and you know who controls money in the domestic debt. So the hand is getting from the left, going to the right, and it becomes a vicious circle. The rest who sit in the periphery become bystanders and spectators.
Yes. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this motion on consideration of the expenditures of the Consolidated Fund Services under the budget estimates for the next financial year 2026-2027. And allow me to begin by thanking the members of the Debt Committee, Honorable Speaker, because as you have said, they consider this expenditure of the Consolidated Fund Services as a consequence of what we have already committed ourselves to, Honorable Speaker. And it's true, and I must agree with my brother, Honorable Oundo, that many of the things we are arguing about here are facts that we should not even be arguing about. We just need to be honest with each other. That true, we have a fiscal deficit every year, year on, year out, we have a fiscal deficit. And the question then that we should be asking ourselves as leaders today is how do we bridge that gap so that we continuously reduce our fiscal deficit, because that is the only way you will reduce borrowing. Forget about all these other semantics of whether securitization is borrowing or not. There are various schools of thoughts on whether securitization is actual borrowing or not, and we may not have the time in this debate to be able to explore all the schools of thought academically and even from those who are students of economics and accountants like ourselves, Honorable Speaker. But the fact is that we have a fiscal deficit, and this year we have, for the first time, Honorable Speaker, budgeted for the highest fiscal deficit in the recent past at 5.3%. That again is a fact that we cannot run away from. What is informing this fiscal deficit, Honorable Speaker, is exactly what you are trying to educate the country on. That we have budget estimates or expenditure estimates that outstrip our revenue projections. And the other fact, Honorable Speaker, is that we have said it here. If we are honest, if we are leaders, if we want to be leaders, not political noisemakers, as some of us want to be seen how intelligent we are out there. If you are a true leader, you should be honest enough to tell the people of Kenya and the world that we are dealing with a wartime economy, as I said here when we were debating these estimates and the fuel economy matters. Because, Honorable Speaker, global supply chain logistics are disrupted whether we like it or not. Availability of fuel around the globe is also disrupted. We don't live in an ivory tower. We live in a congested world with the rest of the world. And therefore, even as we budget today, we must be very honest to ourselves that these budget estimates that we are budgeting today, very soon, we may have to look at a supplementary budget to further cut on our expenditure estimates. Not just with the view of reducing the fiscal deficit that we are budgeted for, but also cognizant of the fact that we are living in uncertain times. We do not know and we have no control of when the war in the Middle East will end. I hear some who purport to be very intelligent telling us, oh, the Strait of Hormuz, no oil, not a single barrel of our oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. You know, again, that is a plain lie. If you look at where we are buying our oil from in Saudi Arabia, Honorable Speaker, and you've been there for Hajj, Unfortunately, this year you didn't make it because of your busy schedules.
No, I made it.
Oh, you made it?
I was in
I thought because I had seen you the 2-3 weeks ago before the recess, you did not make it for Hajj.
No, I made it.
And you know, at least you've been to Saudi. Some of us have, even those who purport to know the region do not know. You will add me a minute, Honorable Speaker, or two, do not know Saudi. Because where the oil fields are and where the refineries are, and I said here last week, are two different things. And the refineries, some of them, Honorable Speaker, have even been demolished. The one in Bahrain, for instance, was bombed by the Iranians. We have no control over these things. But we have to live with them in our country and in our time. What do we do as leaders? Then we must manage our expenditures. We must be able to rationalize all our expenditures. And I want to call on us as leaders now to desist from the politicking and the grandstanding and start offering solutions. Because it is very easy for you to stand here and purport that there are people who imagine they're more intelligent than others and throw jabs at each other. But Honorable Speaker, at the end of the day, the people we represent want to...
Give him... Has he run out of time or there's a problem with it?
They are giving me 5 minutes like everybody else. I think, Honorable Speaker, because I contributed later, the clerks at the desk have assumed it is the ordinary contributions, but I have more time on this, Honorable Speaker, by virtue of the office that I hold. And to also set the record straight, Honorable Speaker, as I call for leadership, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Debt Committee has done an excellent job. And they have told you, Honorable Speaker, if you look at the figures in this report, almost 1.0, out of the consolidated fund services, the public debt service allocation is 2.31 trillion. Ask yourself, Honorable Speaker, if you are spending 2.31 trillion shillings on debt service allocation, and you are projecting to raise maybe 3.6, you'll be left with about 1.3 trillion. We are still in mediation with the county governments that are asking for another 450 billion out of that 1.3. How much are we leaving for expenditure? And that is why I like intelligent, informed, and honest contributions like those of Dr. Oundo, who is asking us, if our debt service today, even interest payments are higher in terms of percentage to GDP, higher than our development allocation in our estimates, Honorable Speaker, what are we doing to our country? And those are the solutions we should be looking for, Honorable Speaker, today. As we'll point fingers at each other, Honorable Speaker, the committee is telling you, out of this 2.31, 1.06 is in redemption, or rather principal payments, and 1.25 in interest payments. That tells you interest payments alone are taking close to 54%, almost 60% of our CFS. And therefore, as we consider these estimates, interest payments, we are not paying interest on the debts borrowed in the last 2 years or the last 3 years, presided over by Honorable Atandi and Honorable Dindi Nyoro as budget chair. And I do not mention their names in vain because they did not do this work alone. We did it collectively, dictated by circumstances of our economy at the time. Just like today, we are budgeting dictated by circumstances that pertain today, not last year. It's very easy to say, oh, Mwai Kibaki did not borrow this much. Very popular out there with villagers and other people who may not understand and who may not know what you know. But we must be honest to tell Kenyans, Mwai Kibaki presided over an economy under the old constitution that had no devolution. There was nobody asking Mwai Kibaki for 500, half a trillion shillings to go to our county governments, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we had a government after Mwai Kibaki that was in power for 10 years and borrowed.
What is out of order in your...
Honorable Speaker, is important for us because we are still informing Kenyans. The fact of the matter is that the entire 10 years of President Mwai Kibaki, Kenya borrowed 1.2 trillion Kenya shillings.
Order. Let's not go on the... Order. I will explain to you. When you go on a point of order, you are raising on a specific matter which is out of order, which is as a result of the chair. But you keep going back 10 years. What is it? What is out of order?
I've seated here listening, Honorable Speaker, and the majority leader keeps talking about solutions. But his entire presentation so far, and time is actually off, is about lamentations. So if we have the government lamenting before the Kenyan people, what do you want Kenyans to do?
Order, Honorable Ndini Nyoro. You still are out of order. Proceed, Honorable Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I don't know what is itching my brother because I have not even finished my contribution. And I was headed there because, Honorable Speaker, I was saying, rather than lecture the country to want to seem to look intelligent, what we should be offering are solutions. And we should be telling Kenyans honestly that the Mwai Kibaki government did borrow, but they were living under different circumstances, not under the 2010 Constitution. The 2010 Constitution, when Uhuru Kenyatta came into power in 2013, you will see the exponential growth of that debt, dictated again by our circumstances. I know some of these members were not in that parliament, but we were there, Honorable Speaker. The former chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, a great Kenyan by the name Mutava Musimi, presided over an audit of the 2010 Constitution implementation and tabled a report in this House, Honorable Speaker, that told us we cannot and we will not afford to implement this Constitution in its entirety with our economy as it is. These are things that are in this House, Honorable Speaker, that we can read and inform ourselves. But that be so, Honorable Speaker, we are where we are. Aware that we cannot claw back on our gains in the Constitution of 2010, Honorable Speaker, because the people of northeastern Kenya today can pride themselves with having a brand new stadium in Wajir County, Honorable Speaker. The people of Wajir, for the first time in the history of Kenya, feel part and parcel of the Republic of Kenya. They are not excluded. That is the new nation that we are fashioning. And that nation cannot be fashioned, Honorable Speaker, with petty politicking and grandstanding and throwing jabs at each other to look intelligent to our villagers. I do not want to be that villager who looks brighter than fellow villagers. I want to be a leader in this country who will offer solutions. And those solutions, Honorable Speaker, come in the Sovereign Wealth Fund that is before this House being considered by the Finance and Planning Committee. Those solutions come in the National Infrastructure Fund, which we set up as this House, Honorable Speaker, to be able to have alternative means of financing this budget so that we do not continue growing our fiscal deficit. Those are the solutions we should be offering, Honorable Speaker. Some of these people are here, Honorable Speaker, speak about these issues, are people who stood in their place here to oppose the establishment of the National Infrastructure Fund. Honorable Speaker, that National Infrastructure Fund is what, for those that we campaigned with, Honorable Speaker, and some were very loud in our campaigns in 2022. Very loud. Page 10 of the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, Honorable Speaker, spoke about the establishment of the National Infrastructure Fund. And some of those who were on cut-ups, pretending to be very intelligent economists, spoke to the establishment of the National Infrastructure Fund. Hypocrisy, dishonesty, and political grandstanding for cheap publicity. Now they come before this House and they tell us, oh, this National Infrastructure Fund, oh, this is illegal borrowing, this is odious debt language they are borrowing from some guy called, I think, Jimmy someone. I don't know what he does in this country. He is a party leader of some party that was led by a former member of parliament from Kikuyu. Honorable Speaker, securitization, Honorable Speaker, is part of the solutions that we must devise to get away from these systemic fiscal deficits that we have year in, year out. Because if we do not find alternative means of financing our capital or our development expenditure, or even our recurrent expenditure, Honorable Speaker, we change our education system from 844 by Uhuru Kenyatta regime to CBE or CBC. We knew we had a deficit of 116,000 teachers, Honorable Speaker. When we changed, Honorable Speaker, I do not know what I have said because the CBC...
Order. everybody will have their moment. We will not have a situation in which you interrupt endlessly.